Chapter 781, Tai Qiu is not an inheritance ground. Northern Plains, Tai Qiu. An intense battle was reaching its climax. On one side, there were 3 Gu masters, on the other side, it was a myriad beast-sized goat group. 2 Gu masters were in front, retreating under the fierce attacks of the goat group. Behind, one person had a robe filled with bloodstains. Even though his face was like jade, he had a tired expression, he was breathing roughly as his eyes were drooping. Suddenly, with a loud call, the myriad beast coiling mountain goat king led its group of elite goats as they attacked the 3 Gu masters. The assault became faster and faster, the goat group attacked from both sides, resembling ripples from a sea's waves, splitting up and leaving a path in the middle. In a few breaths of time, the Goat King was right in front of them. "Young master, quickly retreat. The situation is dangerous, we will stay here, young master, think of the future." The 2 Gu masters saw this desperate situation, their eyes were wide open as they shouted. But the person behind them was in bad shape, it was as if he did not hear them. One of the Gu masters had a resolute expression as he made a decision, speaking, "Dong Pekong, you are a flying master, quickly escape with young master. I will stall them." The other Gu master, Dong Pekong's body shook, looking at his ally, he hesitated, Wu Feng. LL Rise at N0VE/LBI/. C. M. The Gu master who wanted to stay behind was Wu Feng. Previously, he was a demonic path Gu master, he, together with Hao Ji Lu, were known as the wind and water demons, they were very famous. Hao Ji Lu went to He Lu Lan, in the end, he died in there, along with everyone else later due to Fang Yuan destroying Imperial Court blessed land. On the contrary, wind demon Wu Feng went to Dong Fang Yu Liang. Even though they lost in the Imperial Court contest, his life was preserved. He converted from demonic to righteous, becoming a subordinate of Dong Fang tribe's previous leader, Dong Fang Yu Liang. But right now, Wu Feng wanted to stay behind and single-handedly resist the myriad beast goat group. He was using his life to gain precious time for his allies, for them to escape. There was no hope of surviving. This was truly a suicide mission. Dong Pekong's heart shook, he felt moved. Even though Wu Feng was strong, as a righteous path member, he felt suspicious towards Wu Feng's motives and intentions for converting. Other than that, he also felt disdain and contempt. But right now, in Dong Pekong's heart, these suspicions, disdain, all vanished, turning into an emotion of tragic guilt. Under the influence of his genuine emotions, he spoke, "Good brother, I will bring young master away now." Wu Feng was staring with wide-opened eyes, seeing the approaching goat group, he was anxious, shouting loudly, "Why aren't you scramming?" Dong Pekong turned around and left, 2 streaks of tears falling from his eyes. He knew that he had to fight against time, if they wanted to escape, Wu Feng's sacrifice was not enough. They needed his flying master attainment to be fully displayed along the way. Even then, they had less than a 30% chance of success. However, at this moment, the blood-bathed white-robed Gu master opened his eyes, raising his head as he shouted, "7-star light." Saying this, his entire body shot upwards, 7 lumps of light of all colors were floating around him, rapidly circling around his body. Swoosh! A huge lump of star thoughts, under the support of the 7-star light, burst out. In an instant, the surroundings were dyed in blue, starlight shined brightly and hit the surprised goat group. The coiling mountain goat group's myriad beast king shouted loudly, but their momentum was too great, the goat group rammed into the countless star thoughts. "Young master! Lord Liang!" Wu Feng and Dong Pekong saw this and were excited and joyful. An immense amount of star thoughts formed a star cloud as it rumbled endlessly. A moment later, half of the star thoughts were destroyed, but as they dispersed, the myriad beast goat king had died, along with dozens of elite goat beasts. The goat group lost their goat king and broke apart. Splitting into multiple smaller groups led by 1,000 beast goat kings, the huge goat group had turned into numerous smaller groups that scattered everywhere. The blood-bathed white-robed Gu master descended slowly to the surface, his body shuddered as he almost fell on the ground. Even though he dealt a fatal blow and overturned the situation, he was barely hanging on now. Young master. Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong came up, holding this Gu master's arms. This Gu master was Dong Fang Yuliang, after Northern Plains #1 Wisdom Path Gu Immortal, Dong Fang Chang Fan, died, he was his chosen inheritor. His face was extremely pale, he controlled his dizziness as he forced a laugh. Alright, we finally beat this myriad beast goat group, we have time to rest now. Young master. Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong looked at each other, they were moved and in admiration. Dong Pekong was holding Dong Fang Yuliang as he sat down slowly, he could not help but urge, young master, Tai Qiu is one of the 10 great fierce areas. After entering this place for 3 days, we had already encountered more than 10 waves of beast groups. Originally, we had more than 10 people, now only us 3 are left. It is not a big deal if I die here, but young master is precious, if something happens to you, what will we do? Looking at this situation, why don't we retreat first before coming here again? Dong Fang Yuliang sat on the ground, smiling bitterly to himself, shaking his head, you do not know the situation, this is my last and only chance. I had already put everything into this attempt, it is like an arrow that has been shot, we cannot turn back any longer. We need to make use of our time now and rest, trying to recover our battle strength. Saying so, he shut his eyes, grabbing 2 primeval stones as he entered a state of rest. Dong Pekong and Tan Wu Feng looked at each other, seeing the determination in each other's eyes, they nodded as they sat around Dong Fang Yuliang, taking out their primeval stones and meditating. At the outskirts of Tai Qiu, Gu Immortal Lu Qingming retracted his gaze as he praised, to think that as a mortal, Dong Fang Yuliang could advance so deeply into Tai Qiu. This time, he expressed weakness and lured his enemies in, causing the coiling mountain myriad beast goat king to charge up and letting him kill the leader, he actually managed to survive this difficulty. Standing beside him, Gu Immortal Han Dong snorted coldly, this Tai Qiu is one of the 10 great fierce areas, there are desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts living here, even us Gu Immortals do not dare to charge in recklessly. Dong Fang Chang Fan placed his inheritance ground here, he was guarding against us. Gu Immortal Su Guang added, that is right, Dong Fang Yuliang and the others are all mortal Gu masters, they have weak auras and do not attract the attentions of the desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts. With the route that Dong Fang Chang Fan planned for them, they would only meet some ordinary beast groups while entering the deep parts of Tai Qiu. If we go, our Gu Immortal auras would leak and cause the resistance of desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts. More Gu Immortals are coming to the outskirts. The other 2 Gu Immortals heard this and sensed something, they looked towards the southeast direction. Only to see that 3 Gu Immortals had just approached towards them, they were wearing black robes and had masks on, only showing their eyes. More people that want to have a share of the profits. Han Dong's eyes shined ominously, his tone was eerie. The 3 black-robed Gu Immortals descended. They were none other than Fairy Li Shan, Fang Yuan, and He Lu Lan. Fairy Li Shan was a famous Gu Immortal in Northern Plains, previously, she had agreed to an alliance with Dong Fang Chang Fan, she could not covet his possessions openly, thus she had to hide her appearance. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan and He Lu Lan were involved in the collapse of 88 Tru Yang building, they had to conceal their appearances. The 3 slowly descended, floating in the air outside of Tai Qiu. They were not planning to go inside. They first glanced at Dongfang Yu Liang and the others before looking around. He Lulan chuckled, Dongfang Changfan's wisdom path inheritance is truly attractive. The outskirts of Tai Qiu had so many Gu immortals hiding around. Just with my methods, I found more than 20. Fairy Li Shan continued, I found 26, most of them are demonic path Gu immortals, but there are also Gu immortals from Dongfang tribe. Fang Yuan took a look, but he only found 19. Although his battle strength had been raised, his investigative methods could not compare to an established veteran Gu immortal like Fairy Li Shan. As for He Lulan, her investigative methods exceeded his, this made him internally alert. No wonder Dongfang Yu Liang is rushing to obtain the wisdom path inheritance. It seems that Dongfang tribe's Gu immortals are also after this inheritance. After all, with this inheritance, one has a chance of becoming Northern Plains' #1 wisdom path Gu immortal. Even their own Gu immortals cannot resist this temptation. Fairy Li Shan sighed. Did Dongfang Changfan make any mistakes? He signed an agreement with the righteous path super forces, so that they would not come after this, but he missed his own tribe's Gu immortals. He Lulan said, she frowned slightly, she felt that Dongfang Changfan would not be so careless. Dongfang Changfan is the #1 wisdom path Gu immortal in Northern Plains, he left the inheritance clues in Dongfang Yu Liang's mind. Such wisdom path techniques cannot be broken easily. Right now, the Gu immortals are all waiting here, it seems that they are biding their time until Dongfang Yu Liang opens the inheritance, before they start robbing it. Fang Yuan said. His motive in this journey was to get a complete wisdom path inheritance. Wisdom path inheritances had greater value the more complete they were. But currently, it seemed like his goal was going to fail. There were so many Gu immortals after the inheritance, when they obtained it, they might form a situation where the inheritance gets split up. Thankfully, my battle strength rose a lot just now, I have a chance at competing. Later, when we snatch it, I should avoid being the center of attention, so that the crowd would not attack me together, I need to strategize. Fang Yuan made his tactics. Although he had high battle strength, there were many Gu immortals, he could not fight them together. Of course, he was not stupid enough to attempt doing that anyway. However, a change occurred right at this moment. A blinding flash appeared, as the light faded, Dongfang Yu Liang, Wu Feng, and Dong Pekong vanished from their original spots. This is a teleportation Gu formation. It was hidden underground, we didn't discover it. Dongfang Changfan's arrangements are indeed not simple, this Tai Qiu was not the true inheritance ground, it was just a place to hinder us. Quick, while the Gu formation still has some aura remaining, quickly search for clues before it dissipates. The Gu immortal realized at once, showing up and charging towards the deep parts of Tai Qiu. Grr. Desolate beasts, and even ancient desolate beasts were stirred, they rushed out from all areas of Tai Qiu. Chapter 782, Myriad Self First Style, Giant Hand. Seeing a large number of desolate beasts appearing in their sights, with several ancient desolate beasts among them, the Gu immortals flying in the sky slowed down, their expressions turning dark. They were indeed worthy of being Dongfang Changfan's arrangements, meticulously set out and interlinked, he had completely deduced today's situation, even after he died, he created huge problems for these Gu immortals. The desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts that were alerted felt that the Gu immortals were intruders. Originally, they were resting in Tai Qiu, peacefully in their respective territories. Dongfang Yu Liang and the others' intrusion was like a few butterflies flying into their garden, the beasts were not disturbed. But the Gu immortals were like bandits entering their homes, they were alerted and went all out, even working together to protect their territory, Tai Qiu. To humans, Tai Qiu was one of Northern Plains' 10 great fierce areas. But to these desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts, the 10 great fierce areas were their sanctuaries, they were places where humans could not take over. Seeing so many desolate beasts charging over at once, the Gu Immortals were apprehensive. Although there was a good number of them, they were not united. Instead, they were wary of each other due to the wisdom path inheritance. It was hard to work together sincerely. They could not battle with the desolate beasts either. Once they fought, the chaotic battle would cause damage to Tai Qiu. If they destroy the traces left behind by the teleportation Gu formation, the Gu Immortals would have even greater trouble tracking them. Those who could become Gu Immortals were not fools. Dong Fang Changfan's plot was very obvious, they all understood it clearly in an instant. These desolate beasts and even ancient desolate beasts are not the point. We cannot spend too much time with these beasts and lose our clues. Get past them and find the traces, following the clues to the inheritance ground. The Gu Immortals were still flying towards the area where the teleportation Gu formation was, but they had to slow down. Desolate beasts were a huge problem, but the surrounding Gu Immortals were worse. If it was convenient, these demonic path Gu Immortals would certainly not mind exterminating some of the competitors around them. Howl! A desolate beast flying at high speed engaged with a female Gu Immortal. This rank 6 female Gu Immortal's name was Hiroa, also known as Peacock Flying Immortal. She was skilled in transformation path. She shouted a curse, she felt sullen inside, but she could not blame anyone, she could only blame herself for being unlucky and placed in a bad position. Seeing that the desolate beast was charging over, she did not fight it, she turned into a blurry green-gray bird, spreading her wings and flying away, towards the crucial location. The desolate beast was unable to catch up to her, it turned around and targeted another unlucky person. The green-gray bird flew past the other Gu Immortals, becoming the Gu Immortal closest to the crucial location. Other Gu Immortals did not watch this without doing anything. A mere mortal killer move, you dare to stand out? Waves were crashing as a rank 7 Gu Immortal rode on a huge wave and blocked the green-gray bird. This Gu Immortal had a strong aura, but he was so thin his bones could be seen, his skin was wrinkled and dry, sticking close to his bones. Veins could be seen on his skin, they were everywhere. Seeing this person, most of the surrounding Gu Immortals showed a wary expression on their faces. This was a rank 7 Gu Immortal, Shui Han. He was a member of the demonic path and cultivated ice path and water path, he was a famous expert. Peacock Flying Immortal Hiroa saw that Shui Han was obstructing her, she did not evade him, instead, she snorted lightly and an immortal Gu aura burst out from her. Hiroa activated her immortal Gu, the green-gray bird she had transformed into turned from blurry to clear. In an instant, the green bird's body expanded by 30%, 3 golden peacock tails grew on her back, her speed rose sharply as she flew past the waves, towards the Gu formation. Shui Han's actions failed, he laughed instead of getting angry, saying in a mocking tone, "Indeed, after attending the Northern Plains auction, you think you have some ability now, hee hee." Saying this, he raised both his arms. Gurgle gurgle, with 2 loud sounds, the water waves surged up, emerging from nowhere, blocking the green bird like 2 huge walls. Meanwhile, Shui Han's speed did not decrease, he rode on the currents and charged towards Hiroa. Hiroa did not dare to fight with Shui Han, she raised her head and spread her wings, rising into the sky. But no matter how high she flew, the waves grew alongside her. Shui Han smiled coldly, he rapidly got close to her. But Hiroa did not want to battle, she put all her efforts into escaping, Shui Han could do nothing to her within a short period of time. Just as the two were fighting, one figure emerged from another side, like a flash of lightning. This person was brawny and muscular, his skin was bronze in color, lightning was coiling around his body, his speed was faster than he raw. Fang Yuan felt some familiarity upon seeing him saw, he thought over it for a moment and realized that this person was Divine Lord Tian. This immortal cultivated lightning path, he alongside Shi Ho had once coerced an immortal zombie of Zombie Alliance, buying 150 kilograms of wilted essence with one immortal essence stone. Divine Lord Tian saw Shui Han and Hiroa chasing and fleeing, he found a chance and activated his movement killer move, gaining a huge boost in speed. Soon, he surpassed everyone and quickly became the person closest to the Gu formation. F0 Low New Hapters at nov/el/bin/.com. Ha ha ha. Divine Lord Tian saw that he was getting closer to the Gu formation and was overjoyed, laughing loudly. Divine Lord, hold up. Accompanying a calm and slow voice, one white-robed scholar appeared before Tian. Ah, Unfettered Scholar. Divine Lord Tian saw this person and his expression changed, his speed fell drastically. He knew that he was not the rank 7 Gu Immortal, Unfettered Scholar's match, he shouted quickly, Shi Ho, quickly lend me a hand. Shi Ho's eyes twitched, he had no choice but to show up beside Divine Lord Tian. He was a muscular man, looking very rugged and brutish, his hair was in a mess and he held a skull in his hands. Divine Lord Tian cried out, pushing with his hands as a lightning dragon was unleashed. At the same time, Shi Ho activated his mortal killer move, attacking Unfettered Scholar. The two were not weak in battle strength among rank 6 Gu Immortals, otherwise, they would not dare to extort a Zombie Alliance member. At this moment, they joined forces and had an impressive attack, it attracted much attention. Come then. Unfettered Scholar smiled lightly, he moved his hand as two immortal Gu flew out. Boom! In an intense explosion, Shi Ho and Divine Lord Tian flew back after spitting blood, but Unfettered Scholar stood on the spot, having a calm demeanor. He was fighting 2 against 1, beating back Shi Ho and Divine Lord Tian. The immortal Gu he used had great power, but they were already placed back inside his immortal aperture, nobody had seen them clearly. Let's go! At this moment, from another direction, Gu Immortal Lu Qingming shouted, as the Gu Immortals Su Guang and Han Dong followed after him. Their advance caused gasps among the crowd. It is the traveling 3 elites. Block them. Be careful, when they join forces, their battle strength can match rank 7. The 3 elites gave off bright lights each, it was a dazzling scene, forming an image of a chariot. This was a killer move that could only be unleashed when all 3 Gu Immortals worked together. The killer move had great power, the 3 elites could charge forward fearlessly, nobody could stop them for the moment, they got close to the Gu formation. There were 5 publicly well-known rank 8 Gu Immortals in Northern Plains. There were more rank 7 Gu Immortals, but they were not in large numbers. People like Qin Bai Sheng, Fairy Li Shan, and others, they were famous people who had been around for a long time. In the Gu Immortal world, most Gu Immortals were rank 6. When the 3 elites joined up, they had rank 7 battle strength, this made people wary. Furthermore, they had chosen their specific direction and had no strong foes of rank 7. Whether it was by coincidence or not, the 3 of them managed to become the ones closest to the Gu formation. They were extremely fast, Shui Han, Unfettered Scholar and the others could not stop them, they could only watch as the 3 elites landed on the Gu formation that was set up earlier. However, a change occurred right at this moment. The figures of the 3 elites vanished, while a huge bat-desolate beast flapped its wings and flew away. This is a ruin bat. Ruin bat is a space path desolate beast, there were actually concealment type Gu on this beast, the 3 elites were engulfed by it. Ha ha ha, although they are not in mortal danger, they lost precious time and the valuable opportunity. Some Gu immortals were shocked, some were taking pleasure from their misfortune. Ruin Bat was not an exception. At this moment, the desolate beasts in Tai Qiu had surrounded the Gu immortals, ready for a huge battle. The peach wolf, which was pink, cute and had a tiny body, moved extremely quickly like light. The white hoofing horse was stalwart like a mountain, the blood-tongue tree had bloody and long tongues. And also, the Chi Path ancient desolate beast, primeval return peacock, that could absorb the primeval energy of a huge surrounding area, 3 desolate beast coiling mountain goats, and a lawless antelope that could give even a rank 7 Gu immortal a headache. The scene became chaotic at once. Desolate beasts and Gu immortals fought in intense battles, while the Gu immortals were wary of each other. But no matter how chaotic it was, the Gu immortals were protecting one crucial location. They tried to preserve all traces of the teleportation Gu formation. Follow me. With Fairy Li Shan at the lead, Fang Yuan and He Lu Lan were in the chaotic battle, fighting carefully and moving around agilely. They stealthily had gotten close to the Gu formation. Gur. A bull-shaped desolate beast blocked Fang Yuan and the other's path. You dare rob me? Gu immortal Zhuozhan carried a huge hammer and wore a red bronze suit of armor. He rode on a fat boar as he charged towards Fang Yuan and the others. At the same time, divine Lord Tian, who was far away, laughed coldly. An immortal Gu flew out, turning into lightning as it shot over. It was known as Thunder Shuttle. He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan were about to strike, when Fang Yuan stopped them. Please don't worry, let me use my method. As he said this, countless Gu worms flew up in his immortal aperture. Rank 4 All-Out Effort Gu, Bitter Strength Gu, Borrow Strength Gu, Self-Reliance Gu, Refine Essence Spirit Gu, Earth Strength Gu, Water Strength Gu, Wind Strength Gu, Lightning Strength Gu, Fire Strength Gu, Lurking Soul Coat Gu, Breath Concealment Gu. Countless mortal Gu flew up like butterflies, circling around one spot. An immortal Gu was proudly at the center. It was the Strength Path Immortal Gu, Self-Strength. From the mesmerizing flying, the mortal Gu created traces of light in the air. Self-Strength Immortal Gu burst out with a blinding light, connecting all of the traces of light into one, forming a light lump resembling a small sun. The light shined on the ground in the immortal aperture. On the ground, there were hundreds of thousands of Fang Yuan Strength Path Phantoms standing and waiting silently. Before coming here, Fang Yuan made his preparations. He summoned his Strength Path Phantom army prior to this trip. Immortal Killer Move, Myriad Self, First Style, Giant Hand. Fang Yuan mentally called out. Tens of thousands of phantoms of Fang Yuan stretched out their right hands, raising them up high, palms facing the huge light lump in the sky. Around the light lump, there were 100 group Strength Gu entering it. At the same time, Fang Yuan in the outside world stretched out his right hand. Boom! A Strength Path giant hand appeared out of nowhere. The air within dozens of meters around him was pulled. The giant hand pushed, the bull-shaped desolate beast was pushed away and into the air. The giant hand gripped, Thunder Shuttle Immortal Gu was trapped inside. The giant hand closed into a fist. It punched at Gu Immortal Zhuozhan. Zhuozhan was stunned, his eyes were wide open and staring. After shouting in shock, he escaped in panic. Chapter 783, One Real Among 100 Fakes. Once Fang Yuan's giant hand was unleashed, the effect was shocking. Countless Gu immortals looked over with surprised gazes. In truth, such a method of accumulating quantity and unleashing it all at once was a very common way of designing killer moves. Like the very common fire pellet Gu, it can summon one fireball. How could one increase its strength? Normal people would think like this: by accumulating fireballs, during battle, they would unleash it all at once. This way, by raising quantity, the power of their move will increase. This was the most common and simply train of thought. But most things were easy to plan, yet the execution was not easy at all. If they formed the fireball beforehand, how could they store it? Even if they stored many fireballs, how can they shoot these fireballs at the same time? Even if they fire it, how can they ensure that the aim is accurate, and that the fireballs are not shot in random directions? Only after resolving all of these questions would the Gu master truly own what was known as a killer move. That was why the nurture, use, and refinement of Gu worms were deep fields. Especially in terms of using Gu, one needed creativity. Even if killer moves were created, because people were all different, each killer move would naturally have their own strengths and weaknesses. When Fang Yuan conceived the immortal killer move Myriad Self, it could be said that he had broken traditional confinements and fused enslavement path and strength path, making a great and rare achievement. He had a strength path foundation originally, and when he underwent immortal ascension using his second aperture, he queried heaven and earth, gaining a deeper foundation. Next, he made a huge sacrifice, taking a near-death risk, eventually using the rank 9 Wisdom Gu, gaining unlimited inspiration and creating the immortal killer move Myriad Self. Throughout the process, Fang Yuan played the most crucial role. But his environment, Wisdom Gu, Immortal Ascension, Destruction of Imperial Court Blessed Land, they were all unique stimuli. The immortal killer move, Myriad Self, which successfully fused enslavement path and strength path, due to the nature of its design, had surpassed most immortal killer moves. With this starting point, if Fang Yuan explored it in the future and developed it, he might be able to create a completely new path. Thus, even though the killer move, Myriad Self, was still in its initial stages, its potential was shocking. Enslavement path was the pinnacle of attrition battling, commanding an army and using the tactic of cannon fodder to drown the enemies in sheer numbers. Strength path created an individual champion. By adding great strength to oneself, one can kill whoever stands in their path. If they rage, the battlefield would be bathed in blood. In this aspect, a single person was a huge force. The two extremes fused into one, creating the killer move, Myriad Self. Fang Yuan could use his own strength to create innumerable strength path phantoms that he could manipulate at will. When he battled with He Cheng, the strength path phantom army forced back He Cheng and Shui Han. There was nothing they could do. In the killer move Myriad Self, this was the manifestation of strength path supporting enslavement path. Right now, was the opposite, it was enslavement path supporting strength path. What caused this crucial effect was group strength Gu. This ancient Gu worm was sent into the light lump for the killer move at the end, transferring the strength path army's strength, and adding it all to Fang Yuan's own body. There was also one key point, that was self-strength immortal Gu. If it was cleansed soul immortal Gu, he would not be able to summon the giant hand. The so-called giant hand was only a giant strength path phantom's hand. He Lulan had once controlled self-strength immortal Gu. Her killer move's strongest transformation was a giant strength path phantom. Fang Yuan used the immortal killer move, Unravel Dream, and saved He Lulan, obtaining her strength path true meaning afterwards. This true meaning became the final catalyst to create the giant hand. With all these causes, the move, Giant Hand, was formed. Self-strength immortal Gu was indeed the best suited core for the immortal killer move Myriad Self. With it, Myriad Self developed a step further, it could finally interchange between the main and support roles for either path. Fang Yuan used this move instead of unleashing the strength path phantom army in his immortal aperture. He had his reasons. These strength path phantoms had his appearance. Now that he was the culprit of a huge crime, he needed to hide his traces. Especially after the auction, his identity was exposed to a degree, and he had not deduced the killer move, vaguely familiar face, yet. Giant Hand was the move most suitable for Fang Yuan currently. It had incredible power and would not expose his identity. The huge fist continued to punch at Zhuozhan. Zhuozhan was breaking out in cold sweat. He retreated more quickly as he created some distance from the Giant Hand. Swoosh, the Immortal Gu Thunder Shuttle, which was immobilized, broke free from the Giant Hand, flying towards its owner, Divine Lord Tian. Fang Yuan was not surprised. The design of the Giant Hand was indeed influenced by the Formless Hands. But the two were very different. Giant Hand was a Strength Path killer move, but Formless Hand was the essence of Theft Path. Formless Hand could capture Immortal Gu, but Giant Hand could only immobilize them for a short period of time. That already could be considered very good. After attacking once, Fang Yuan stopped his offense. In a few breaths of time, the Giant Hand vanished into thin air. During the entire process of the attack, his right arm was making cracking noises. Even with his immortal zombie body, it was hard for him to sustain the attack. Now that he stopped the move, his strong arm drooped down weakly. The tendons and muscles under his skin were almost all torn. His bones were full of cracks, and his arteries burst, mushing together with his muscles. Giant Hand extracted strength from all of the Strength Path phantoms, gathering it into Fang Yuan. Because the strength was too great, and Fang Yuan was like the foundation holding it together. This time, I activated Giant Hand using 20,000 Strength Path phantoms. But the Giant Hand's power can only be at this level temporarily. Even though it has room for improvement, my body had reached its limits. Fang Yuan sighed to himself mentally. His arm was slowly drooping down, but concealed by his wide black robe. In a short time, using the recovery ability of the immortal zombie body, his arm completely recovered. Even so, Giant Hand's power was too shocking. Zhuozhan was covered in cold sweat as he retreated a great distance. His gaze towards Fang Yuan carried immense fear. The surrounding Gu Immortals subconsciously created some distance from Fang Yuan. He Lulan and Fairy Li Shan's faces were hidden under their black hoods. They both showed complex and surprised expressions. The power of Giant Hand had made them inwardly apprehensive and alert. But currently, Fang Yuan was their ally. They were on the same side. The two felt glad. These two emotions mixed together, it was a strange feeling. Their states of mind were complex. Especially He Lulan, after sensing that Giant Hand had a hint of her own killer move's design, she felt a slight sense of dejection. Far away, Unfettered Scholar pushed Divine Lord Tian back as he grabbed at Thunder Shuttle Immortal Gu. Divine Lord Tian was anxious. He used his method and successfully took back Thunder Shuttle Immortal Gu. Unfettered Scholar did not achieve his goal. He was not upset. He smiled serenely as he turned his gaze towards Fang Yuan, an impressive immortal killer move. Deep within his gaze, there was a solemn feeling. This is truly battle strength reaching rank 7. Lu Qingming and the others killed the ruined bat and returned to the outskirts of Tai Qiu. Seeing this, they had wary expressions. Who is this? Shui Han was guessing. This was the first time Giant Hand was used. It was obviously not a well-known immortal killer move. This is a Strength Path immortal killer move. Is the person domination immortal Chu Du? Many Gu Immortals could not help but guess. A Strength Path Gu Immortal with such battle strength, there was only one well known in Northern Plains. But soon, everyone shook their heads. With Chu Du's demeanor, he would not conceal his identity like this. After Divine Lord Tian took back Thunder Shuttle Immortal Gu, he looked around. He did not want to fight Unfettered Scholar anymore. Now, even Fang Yuan was a tough opponent, and the traveling 3 elites were back as well. He knew that with his strength, he could not take advantage of the situation. His expression turned ugly. Even though there was much going on, this all happened in a short period of time. After Fang Yuan used Giant Hand, he had retracted his hand and his arm drooped by his side. Under everyone's gaze, he went back to beside Fairy Li Shan and He Lulan. He purposely kept his head low, not making any noise. It was like he did something insignificant. Fairy Li Shan was in front, he was walking behind her, together with He Lulan. Seeing this, everyone was shocked and suspicious. Fang Yuan and the others were dressed in black robes, they wore the same clothes and were very mysterious. Seeing Fang Yuan's attitude, everyone guessed, He Lulan, who was beside him, could have the same battle strength as him. As for the one walking in front, Fairy Li Shan, who was acting like the leader, might have even greater strength than Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was very familiar with people's minds. This small action by him was much more terrifying to other Gu immortals compared to his giant hand. Even though the other immortals knew that he might be bluffing, but as Fang Yuan and the others landed on the ground and reached the Gu formation, as they were searching for clues to capture Dongfang Yuliang, nobody stopped them. Everyone acknowledged the strength of Fang Yuan's group. Of course, the bigger reason was that the wisdom path inheritance was nowhere to be seen. The immortals were shrewd people, they did not want to truly fight now. They fought earlier with probing as their intention, they did not use their real trump cards, or any all-out attacks. Fang Yuan and the others were searching for clues together. A few breaths later, they all gasped. What a teleportation Gu formation! Fairy Li Shan's voice was very hoarse. Truly worthy of Dongfang Changfan, he purposely left behind a Gu formation and misled us. He Lulan said. The clues here can help point out the correct direction, but to find Dongfang Yuliang, we need to rely on luck. Fang Yuan continued. What do you mean? A Gu immortal did not understand, he asked loudly. Fang Yuan and the others did not answer, they rose into the sky suddenly. They left Tai Qiu, moving in 3 different directions and rapidly vanishing from everyone's eyes. A moment later, Unfettered Scholar landed as well. He inspected it and realized Fang Yuan and the others' words were not lies. Find upt. /v/elbin.co/m. As it turned out, Dongfang Changfan did something to the Gu formation. He did not make arrangements to destroy the Gu formation, since this formation could only teleport mortal Gu masters, it could not transport immortals. If he destroyed the Gu formation, there would be Gu immortal experts who could capture all sorts of clues and traces, following them and finding Dongfang Yuliang. After all, Dongfang Changfan was skilled at plotting and deductions, he was not an expert in teleportation Gu formations. Thus, he intentionally left behind many trails, while concealing the real route within them, making it hard for people to decipher what was real amongst the fake. This way, the Gu immortals would have to split up to find him, even if someone found Dongfang Yuliang, his pressure would be much lower. Earlier, Fang Yuan and the others chose the 3 most probable directions. Unfettered Scholar thought over it before choosing a 4th direction, rapidly leaving Tai Qiu. After he left, the immortals landed one by one, getting their own clues and leaving in the directions they chose. In the end, only Dongfang tribe's Gu immortals were left. These Gu immortals are so crafty, no one destroyed the teleportation Gu formation. Even if they destroyed it, clues would still remain. These demonic path Gu immortals have survived until today, they are not people who would do such strenuous and unrewarding tasks. That's right, they are hoping that even if they went the wrong direction, someone would find the real route. By then, if there is any commotion, they would rush over immediately. Alright, let's go down and see what clues there are. Chapter 784, Ordinary Desolate Beasts Are Not My Match. Alright, let us go down as well and see what clues there are. Dongfang Wanxiu dispelled his concealment methods and moved to the spot where Dongfang Liang disappeared. Wasn't First Supreme Elder given special care by Lord Dongfang Changfan before death? A Dongfang tribe Gu immortal asked with some doubts. Yes, First Supreme Elder specially convened us to come together. There are none of us Gu immortals currently with the tribe. I was still thinking First Elder would already have some clues. The Gu immortals expressed their worries. Dongfang Wanxiu heaved a long sigh, speaking in a bleak tone, "Don't call me First Supreme Elder. In my heart, only Lord Dongfang Changfan can be our tribe's First Supreme Elder. We all know Lord Wanxiu was nurtured by Lord Changfan. But now, Lord Changfan has already passed away. Who can avoid dying in this world? In my opinion, we should focus on the present." Right. Now, Lord Changfan's wisdom path inheritance has attracted so many demonic path Gu immortals. Our tribe might be one of the super forces, but any carelessness could result in a catastrophic danger. We need to handle this prudently and safely. If not for Lord Wanxiu honestly explaining that these are Lord Changfan's arrangements before death, we would have left behind at least one Gu immortal to guard against any accidents and protect our tribe's seeds. Unlike now, where we have all gathered here. The Gu immortals followed closely behind Dongfang Wanxiu, speaking one after another. Dongfang Wanxiu waved his hand. "There is no need to worry. I might not have the correct clues, but I know the method to get those clues." He then closed his eyes and probed clues from the aura left behind by the teleportation Gu formation. The Gu formation's aura kept on changing. Dongfang Wanxiu got different results every time he checked. Dongfang Wanxiu followed the instructions Dongfang Changfan gave him before death, engraving these aura clues in memory, comparing and examining them. After a while, he slowly opened his eyes and flew to the sky, saying to the rest, "Follow me." "Where is this?" Dongfang Liang slowly woke up from his state of unconsciousness, his gaze turned from blurry to clear. He had a terrible headache, and in fact, not only did his head hurt, his entire body was covered in wounds of all sizes, blood flowed from his internal organs and bones were fractured in many areas. "According to the map left by Lord Changfan, we have only traveled half the path. How did we suddenly arrive here?" Dongfang Liang was puzzled, pondering on this while treating the wounds. With his rank 5 peak stage cultivation and methods, the injuries on his body were soon being healed. "I remember that when we meditated to absorb primeval energy from primeval stones, the teleportation Gu formation suddenly activated and sent us here. Could it be that the map Lord Dongfang Changfan gave me is actually fake? Maybe the latter half is fake and the true final point is midway through it." Dongfang Liang felt his guess could be correct. From his understanding of Dongfang Changfan, the latter indeed had such a way of doing things. These arrangements were set up to block the methods of other wisdom path Gu immortals. Gu immortals of other paths would be afraid of causing inadvertent damage, afraid that the clues with Dongfang Liang would be ruined as well as being wary of each other, thus they chose to stay behind and wait for the chance to move. Wisdom path Gu immortals, however, could search thoughts and extract the true clues of the map. Wu Feng and Dong Pekong were teleported along with me, but I see no traces of them right now. Maybe they are nearby, who knows? I should first look for them before exploring this hall. After a while, Dongfang Liang healed the injuries on his body, then started searching around. He had found that this place was like a group of large halls, and he was inside a hall. The halls were beautiful but ruined, and could be considered to be a giant site of ruins. Dongfang Liang moved with caution, but there was no one in the hall, not to mention enemies. Wu Feng. Young Master. After walking a while, Dongfang Liang met Wu Feng, who also had been looking for him. Not long after the two met, they found Dong Pekong at the exit of the hall. Dong Pekong was lying on the ground, still unconscious. Dong Fang Yu Liang and Tan Wu Feng used some methods to awaken him. The three were happy at having reunited. Naturally, Dong Fang Yu Liang was still the leader. He thought for a while and decided, if I am not wrong, this should be where Lord Chongfan set the inheritance. We have already searched the first hall but did not discover any clues. Let's take a look at the second hall. Sure enough, like he expected, when the three entered the second hall, they met with a test at the center of the hall. This was a complicated puzzle, involving a complex mystery. There were clues and evidence given, of which both truths and falsehoods were included. There was also a time limit, under which Dong Fang Yu Liang had to use wisdom path methods to not only search through the false clues, he also had to deduce the truth of the case. Dong Fang Yu Liang was indeed worthy of being the successor Dong Fang Chongfan chose. In less than 1/3 of the time limit, he passed the test and was richly rewarded with a set of rank 5 wisdom path Gu worms. With greatly increased strength, Dong Fang Yu Liang entered the third hall. This test was a remnant Gu recipe. It required Dong Fang Yu Liang to deduce the recipe within 15 minutes. Boom! A giant strength path hand smashed down like a mountain. Bah! The giant horned sheep let out miserable bleats, filled with injuries and completely suppressed by the giant hand. This desolate beast struggled hard several times, but the giant hand still pressed down on it firmly. Finally, the giant horned sheep's energy was used up and it gave up on resisting, not moving anymore. Fang Yuan let out a breath of cloudy air, a pleased look flashing past his eyes. He had followed the clues in his search, but the clues turned out to be false. And when he followed the 5th clue, he came across this desolate beast, giant horned sheep. Fang Yuan was interested in it and started a huge battle with the giant horned sheep. Ever since he connected luck with Yi Fan, Hong Yi and Han Li, Fang Yuan did not have a deficit in luck. This giant horned sheep he fought did not have any difficulty to handle Gu worms. Giant hand was extremely useful. He repeatedly used it to subdue the giant horned sheep and soon restrained it. There were no twists and turns during the entire battle. Fang Yuan's superiority kept on accumulating until it turned into complete victory, capturing the giant horned sheep alive. Giant horned sheep is purely a strength path desolate beast. I will raise it in the blessed land. At every set interval of time, I can cut off some of its flesh and use eat strength immortal Gu to increase the strength path Dao marks on my body. Who would have expected that I would be able to capture a giant horned sheep alive in this place? It is truly a surprise blessing. Fang Yuan relaxed his breathing. The injuries on his immortal zombie body had already healed. He willed and the giant hand grabbed the giant horned sheep and transported it to his immortal aperture. Ever since Fang Yuan obtained Eat Strength Immortal Gu, he had frequently purchased strength path related food in Treasure Yellow Heaven, which came out to be a significant expense. Once or twice was okay, but as it continued on, even Fang Yuan was feeling the effect of the huge expenses. He had already planned to raise some strength path desolate beasts as long-term investment. But the transactions of desolate beasts were rare even in Treasure Yellow Heaven, not to mention that Fang Yuan only wanted pure strength path desolate beasts. I truly made a good move by extorting self-strength immortal Gu. My battle strength has reached rank 7 and the giant hand is somewhat more practical than the strength path phantom army. Ordinary desolate beasts like giant horned sheep are no longer my match. Even regarding the swamp crab which once damaged Dang Hun Mountain, should be able to face it head-on. Even if it had Gruel Mud Immortal Gu, I could ensure the safety of Dang Hun Mountain. Fang Yuan clenched his monstrous claws, enjoying the pleasure of having the situation in his grasp. He rested and reorganized himself leisurely with no hurry. He was aware of the situation. There were many wolves but only one prey. Only relying on his strength, the chances of devouring Dong Fang Chang Fan's wisdom path inheritance were too low. If nothing unexpected happens, even if this wisdom path inheritance lands in my hands, it will only be an incomplete part. Sigh, I wonder when I would be able to obtain a truly intact wisdom path inheritance. As Fang Yuan thought over this, Fairy Li Shan's message appeared in his immortal aperture. Find upt. Ted. Uvels on n. /v/elbin.co/m. Fairy Li Shan's information gathering ability was indeed superior to Fang Yuan's. There were already some people who had discovered the true location of Dong Fang Chang Fan's inheritance ground, and an intense battle was already underway at that area. Because of this loud commotion, more and more Gu Immortals were heading there. Fang Yuan met with Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan. When they arrived at the place, a dozen or so Gu Immortals were pacing around the outer perimeter. Ah, it is them. Careful, these three are extremely mysterious. I just returned from the area to the southeast, and saw that person using a giant hand to capture a desolate beast giant horned sheep alive. Demonic Path Gu Immortals prioritized strength. The strength Fang Yuan displayed made them apprehensive. Thus, when they slowly flew over, these Gu Immortals subconsciously parted to make way for them in the air. This is the inheritance ground. Dong Fang Chang Fan indeed put much thought into this. Fang Yuan observed from above, and soon said in a moved tone. Below him was the corpse of a ruined bat. This ruined bat was not simple. While alive, it was an immemorial desolate beast with the battle strength of a rank 8 Gu Immortal. It was a space path desolate beast with countless space path Dao marks on its body. These Dao marks were influencing this space, constructing a land of illusory large halls. As long as someone stepped into its range, they would be dragged into the halls. Only if they were rank 8 Gu Immortal, would they be able to resist this huge force. This ruined bat died in the depths of Tai Qiu. Its presence caused there to be no desolate beasts around a huge surrounding range. This was a forbidden place within a forbidden place, a fierce area among fierce areas. Dong Fang Chang Fan was also only a rank 7 Gu Immortal, but he was actually able to arrange his wisdom path inheritance at this place. This was indeed another clear indication that he was worthy of being called the number 1 wisdom path Gu Immortal of Northern Plains. It was truly extraordinary. Right as the Gu Immortals were hesitating above the ruined bat's corpse, Dong Fang Liang had already been smoothly succeeding and was charging into the 8th hall. My chosen inheritor, you have finally arrived. A lump of star will condensed into Dong Fang Chang Fan's appearance, in front of Dong Fang Liang and the others. Master. Dong Fang Liang prostrated with tears in his eyes. The star will slowly nodded and looked at Dong Fang Liang. Being able to come here shows your superior talent. This is not the final hall, but it is the end of the inheritance. As long as you are able to perfect this Gu formation and successfully activate it, you can be said to have completely obtained this wisdom path inheritance and receive my wisdom path immortal Gu. Master, I will definitely do my best. Dong Fang Liang showed an intense fighting spirit. You need to be quick, there is not much time left. The star will raise its head, gazing at the sky. Chapter 785, Phantom Beasts Obstruct the Way, Immortals Are Troubled. Bam bam bam. Intense explosions continued to occur. In the sky, Gu Immortals were fighting everywhere. Since they had now found the true inheritance ground, the demonic path Gu Immortals were all practical and straightforward. Without much hesitation, someone flew down. Since Dong Fang Chang Fan chose the corpse of an immemorial ruined bat as his wisdom path inheritance ground, he naturally had his own reasons. The huge phantom beast army was stirred. Like a giant black cloud, they rose from beneath the feet of the demonic path Gu Immortals. These phantom beasts were all of strange appearances, they attacked fearlessly. They were skilled at dodging, and there were several desolate beast-level phantom beasts blocking the demonic path Gu Immortals. Phantom beasts are normally rare, they only appear in places with numerous space path Dao marks. There are so many here. He Lu Lan was fighting fiercely as she cursed. Top V L updates on n/o/v/lb/in.com. She lost self-strength. Immortal Gu, her battle strength plummeted. Even though she could use Strength Chi Immortal Gu to replace it, and still summon the giant Strength Path Phantom Killer move, she could not show her appearance now, thus, when fighting, she was very restricted. Stay calm. Fairy Li Shan consoled, phantom beasts have the natural ability to turn into phantoms and avoid attacks. Inspiration for the phantom path of Gu Masters was obtained from phantom beasts by Gu Immortal Su Wu Xie. As long as an ancient desolate beast-level phantom beast doesn't appear, we will be able to enter the corpse of the immemorial ruin bat eventually. As she said this, a large group of phantom beast birds flew over. Fang Yuan snorted, keeping them away from the other two as he used Myriad Self-First Style, Giant Hand. A Strength Path Giant Hand appeared, stretching its fingers and grabbing. The Strength Path hand had great power, but when it grabbed, it caused little damage. In this 1,000 phantom beast group, only some dozens had died. Most of the phantom beasts had turned vague, they became nearly invisible, as they remained in their places. When Fang Yuan retracted his Strength Path hand, these phantom beasts appeared again, they became solid and had real bodies, charging towards Fang Yuan and the others again. Fang Yuan snorted coldly. Next to him, Fairy Li Shan waved a hand as a sea of fire spread out. The fire burned in the air, over the entire surroundings, they formed a large barrier. The phantom beasts charged into the sea of fire, using the same ability again and avoiding the flames by turning into phantoms. Their advancement did not slow down. But the moment they ran out of the fire, Fang Yuan had been waiting for them, he grasped with his Strength Path Giant Hand. Splat! This time, Fang Yuan grabbed onto them. Hundreds of phantom beasts were turned into meat paste, they lost their lives. The hand slowly opened up, as flesh and blood rained down from the gaps between his fingers, blood was pouring like a drizzle of rain. This group of phantom beasts had around 1,000 in number. With this grasp from Fang Yuan, most of them died, the remaining ones lost their fighting spirit when faced against the imposing Fang Yuan, they scattered and escaped. Fang Yuan killed this group of phantom beasts so easily, but he was not smug, he had a grim expression. The ordinary phantom beasts are still fine, they can only turn into phantoms for a short while, we can eradicate them with some cooperation. But the problem lies in the desolate beast-level phantom beasts. Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan nodded. They were observing the surroundings and paying attention to the battles elsewhere. Unfettered Scholar and Shui Han, the two rank 7 Gu Immortals were fighting with 2 desolate-level phantom beasts each. Desolate-level phantom beasts were truly special, they could turn into phantoms for a long time. Thus, even though they were rank 6, they were hard to deal with. Unfettered Scholar and Shui Han could not take them down even though they hurried to do so. But the two had rich experience. After fighting for a while, they recognized the situation and became less rash, they started to deal with the situation calmly. In contrast, Lu Qingming's side was in a dangerous situation. One desolate-level phantom beast turned phantom, its speed rose quickly as it charged towards Gu Immortal Han Dong, who was beside Lu Qingming. Han Dong was caught off guard, he was inside the phantom beast's body. After turning phantom, Han Dong could not touch the phantom beast, but the phantom beast also could not touch Han Dong. But at the next moment, the phantom beast became solid. Han Dong was inside the phantom beast's body, once this happened, he entered the phantom beast's stomach. The phantom beast growled proudly, it flew away and left with Han Dong, leaving Lu Qingming and Su Guang behind. Lu Qingming, Han Dong, and Su Guang were the traveling 3 elites. When they joined forces, they could match a rank 7 Gu immortal. But they were cooperating when doing that, they were not as powerful individually. Once Han Dong was gone, the remaining 2 Gu immortals' battle strength fell drastically, they were no longer as imposing as before. The 2 were anxious, they chased and attempted to save Han Dong. The phantom beast that engulfed Han Dong flew down rapidly, it endured Lu Qingming and Su Guang's attacks without turning phantom again. Han Dong was attacking it from within its stomach as well. This phantom beast was attacked from both inside and outside. Along the way, it was clearly troubled, it was spitting blood. Why is this phantom beast so stubborn? Earlier when we fought, they would all turn phantom the moment any attacks got close. Quickly turn phantom now. Su Guang shouted anxiously. Lu Qingming's face was grim, can you still not tell? There is a mastermind behind this. Dong Fang Chong Fan, I underestimated you. In a hall within the ruins, Dong Fang Chong Fan's star will watch the sky with his hands behind his back. His body was shining in starlight, his thick and condensed body was shrinking rapidly, becoming more dispersed. This was the ability of the number 1 wisdom path immortal in Northern Plains. Even though he had died, the methods he left behind could still be used, controlling this phantom beast army, to fight for precious time for his inheritor. Quick, faster. Just a bit faster. Behind him, Dongfang Yuliang was full of sweat as he squeezed out all of his potential, trying to finish this Gu formation. This Gu formation was the final test. After he passed it, he would obtain Dongfang Chong Fan's immortal Gu, the core essence of the wisdom path inheritance. In the air, seeing that the desolate level phantom beast was bringing Han Dong back to its home, Su Guang, who could not catch up, showed a look of despair. To think that Dongfang Chong Fan had such incredible enslavement path methods, he really concealed them deeply. Brother Han Dong will be in deep trouble if he can't escape, what shall we do? Enslavement path, wisdom path, and soul path are all very similar, they almost have the same origins, that is not strange. Lu Qingming's eyes shined with a determined light, but Dongfang Chong Fan, we feared you when you were alive, avoiding you and your deductions. Now that you are dead, you are still causing trouble for us, but do you think such methods are enough to take us down? You are looking down on the talents of this world. Saying so, his body shook as his arms spread open, resembling a bird spreading its wings. At the next moment, his arms swung in front of his chest, without bending at all, as his hands clapped in front of him. With a loud, crisp sound, an intense wind blew from the force of his clap. The wind danced in the air, forming tens of thousands of wind blades in the air. The wind blades spun around each other, forming a ball-shaped mass resembling dark green vines. They intertwined together as they were sent attacking at the desolate level phantom beast. It's here. Brother Lu's immortal killer move, entangled wind. Su Guang's expression lightened. He knew the power of this immortal killer move. If used on the phantom beast, it would definitely suffer a huge blow, Han Dong would be saved. Furthermore, this move, entangled wind, was strong and incredible. It was a famed move of Lu Qingming, it could be manipulated at will, the wind blades could gather and separate with just his thoughts. That was why, even if the phantom beast turned phantom the moment it was hit, causing entangled wind to hit Han Dong, Lu Qingming could still separate entangled wind in time using his own strength. Once entangled wind was split up, even though the attack range would increase, its power would reduce, Han Dong would survive it. But just when he was about to succeed, a vine dragon flew over, targeting the entangled wind. Unfettered Scholar, don't even think about it. Su Guang saw this and stared with a furious expression. He hurriedly used his killer move to block the vine dragon. A water lotus appeared below the entangled wind all of a sudden. This was the action of the rank 7 Gu immortal, Shui Han, who freed himself for a moment. Lu Qingming snorted coldly as the entangled wind split up. A small portion of it could not dodge and entered the water lotus. But most of the wind blades dodged the water lotus and gathered together again, forming a smaller entangled wind, and charging towards the desolate level phantom beast. But right at this moment, a strength path giant hand came out of the clouds and grabbed the entangled wind. With a loud bang, the strength path giant hand and the entangled wind both dissipated. The desolate level phantom beast found an opening and landed on the palace below. With a ripple in space, it vanished. Ah! Success had been just around the corner. Su Guang growled loudly in anger, turning towards Fang Yuan with a furious expression. I will kill you. Fang Yuan snickered coldly. He waved his finger at Su Guang. Su Guang was about to attack, but Lu Qingming flew over and stopped him in time. Stay calm, Su Guang. Lu Qingming's eyes were blood red. We will definitely take revenge for this later, but now, the urgent matter is to save Han Dong. Thinking of Han Dong, Su Guang controlled his anger and clenched his fist. Veins could be seen on his forehead. Brother Lu is right, only after finding Han Dong, we would have rank 7 battle strength by combining our strength. Before this, only the two of them were left. Finding trouble with a rank 7 battle strength expert like Fang Yuan was just asking for humiliation. The two talked at a low volume for a while, before turning around and attacking the palace below. The palace was unmoving from start to end. It was only a mirage. As space rippled again, 3 new desolate level phantom beasts flew out, blocking Su Guang and Lu Qingming. But this time, Su Guang and Lu Qingming wanted to save someone. They went all out and stopped preserving their strength. The 3 desolate level phantom beasts were pushed back. Shui Han saw this and laughed coldly. This was the result he wanted to see. Demonic Path Gu immortals were wary of each other. Until the last moment, nobody would go all out. With Lu Qingming and Su Guang leading the way, everything would be much easier. Most importantly, they lost their rank 7 battle strength. I have one less true competitor now. At another side, Unfettered Scholar smiled. As he dealt with the desolate level phantom beast, he looked at Shui Han and Fang Yuan. Especially when he saw that Fang Yuan and the others were still standing in a spot without a desolate level phantom beast fighting them, a solemn gaze flashed across his eyes. These 3 are having it easy. This is not a good thing. Unfettered Scholar moved as he thought, luring the desolate level phantom beast towards Fang Yuan and the others. Fang Yuan had already been paying attention to the surroundings. Seeing this, his gaze was cold. He retreated as he stretched out both hands. 2 giant hands flew out, charging towards Unfettered Scholar without any restraints. At the same time, a 3rd giant hand appeared behind him, protecting him from his surroundings. He can actually use 3 hands at once. Unfettered Scholar's movements paused, the wariness in his mind intensified. Just as they were all harrying and plotting against each other, an elderly Gu immortal appeared silently behind Dongfang Liang, who was in the large hall. His eyes were shining with divine brilliance. His gaze swept across Dongfang Changfan's star will, as well as Dongfang Liang who was working hard. He stared at the walls of the hall and the huge Gu formation on the ground. Good formation, good formation. Even I, old Lord Kenyan, am seeing this for the first time in my life. He praised continuously. Chapter 786, 1 against 2 rank 7s. Who are you? Dongfang Liang saw old Lord Kenyan and was shocked. Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong were vigilant. the aura old Lord Kenyan naturally sent out made them feel a strong sense of fear. Dong Fang Chang Fan's star will slowly turned around, saying to old Lord Kenyan calmly, "You are also here to inherit my wisdom path inheritance." Old Lord Kenyan was slightly stunned. After assessing the star will, he said with a tone of surprise, "Oh, I am also qualified." "You could pass the test, you are a capable person. Since you appeared at this moment, you have an affinity with the inheritance. The wisdom path inheritance that I, Dong Fang Chang Fan, left behind cannot be passed down to those cowardly and useless people, that would just be ruining my reputation, and letting our descendants laugh at the great wisdom path Gu immortal who can't even arrange his posthumous matters properly, isn't that right?" The star will paused for a moment before continuing, "Since you have shown your outstanding skill, you naturally have the qualifications to inherit my wisdom path inheritance. But this lad was picked by my main body, now that he is in the test, you cannot obstruct him. If he succeeds, you will not be able to get it. But if he fails, you are allowed to try. Dong Fang Chang Fan, you are indeed peerless within Northern Plains, you had such a disposition." Old Lord Kenyan looked at Dong Fang Chang Fan's star will, sighing as he spoke matter-of-factly, "I was going to snatch it forcefully, but since this is the case, I do not mind waiting." Old Lord Kenyan was indeed powerful, but this place was arranged by Dong Fang Chang Fan. Even if he snatched it, he would only get an incomplete wisdom path inheritance. For wisdom path inheritances, the more complete they are, the more valuable they will be. Since there was a possibility of obtaining a complete wisdom path inheritance, old Lord Kenyan did not want to lose it. His gaze went from Dong Fang Chang Fan's star will to Dong Fang Yu Liang. After looking at him for a while, he turned to Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong. Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong had been completely on alert since he appeared. Old Lord Kenyang's gaze was very calm, but for Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong, they felt as if a fire alarm was blaring. An immense sense of danger was filling them. "What are you thinking of doing?" Dong Fang Yu Liang sensed something amiss, he shouted loudly. Old Lord Kenyan snickered, he did not move, but Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong's bodies had ignited on the spot. "Ah!" The two screamed out shrilly, they collapsed on the floor and struggled intensely. But the yellow-green flames continued to burn, it roasted these two rank 5 Gu masters and made them feel pain that could make one wish for death. Old Lord Kenyang's face showed a cold and cruel smile. His intention was to deal with Dong Fang Yu Liang. If he failed, the opportunity would come. But if he wanted to exterminate Dong Fang Yu Liang, the star will at the side would not allow it. This would cause old Lord Kenyan to lose his opportunity. Thus, old Lord Kenyan targeted Dong Pekong and Tan Wu Feng. To Dong Fang Yu Liang, these two people were loyal subordinates, they were his right-hand men. He was naturally affected greatly, he was also an astute person. He knelt down and begged Dong Fang Chang Fan's star will for help. "Master, without these two, I would not have made it here, please save them." Star will waved its sleeves, it said coldly, "Mercy does not suit an army commander, kindness does not suit scheming. Dong Fang Yu Liang, you are the disciple of my main body, but my main body is dead, I am only a star will left behind, my main purpose is to find a suitable inheritor for this inheritance. The help I gave you has already reached its limit, there is no use even if you beg me. Rather than wasting time here, I would rather you use your time well and complete the Gu formation, passing the test." The star will said that out loud, but at the same time, a voice was transmitted into Dong Fang Yu Liang's mind. "Yu Liang, oh Yu Liang, the situation is extremely dangerous, this Gu immortal is a huge threat, he has great battle strength, even my main body would be wary of him. Furthermore, I am only a will now, I deceived and managed to stall him, you have to quickly complete this Gu formation. This formation is both an inheritance and also a way to deter enemies. If you can complete it in time, you will be able to use it to challenge Gu immortals. By then, you might be able to save your two subordinates' lives. Land spirits were pure, they never lied, their actions and words were all truthful. But the star will was a will, it could lie. Dong Fang Liang heard the star will's transmission and his heart shook. He finally understood the star will's difficulty. He shouted loudly as he stood up. He screamed at Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong, "Brothers, you have to hang in there. I will definitely save your lives." Saying this, he turned back with tears in his eyes, continuing to complete the Gu formation. Old Lord Kenyan frowned. He willed, and the fire became larger. Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong's faces contorted from pain. Their painful cries became twice as loud. Even though they cried out in grievous pain, they could not die. Rank 5 Gu masters were at the peak of the mortal world, but in front of a person like Old Lord Kenyan, they were like wooden puppets. They were completely controlled, they could not die even if they wanted to. As Dong Fang Liang heard the cries, his mind became clearer, his gaze became more firm. He was not overrun by anger and hatred. Instead, his eyes started bleeding. This was the result of him deducing intensely and expending his mental strength. Old Lord Kenyan tortured the two and saw no effect. Instead, it made Dong Fang Liang try even harder. The incomplete Gu formation was being constructed at a faster pace. Old Lord Kenyang's face showed some worry. At this rate, if Dong Fang Liang succeeds, his plans would be ruined. Dong Fang Liang had quite a chance to succeed, not only because he was doing well now, but because he was the person chosen by Dong Fang Changfan. He had to have potential. If Dong Fang Liang obtained the inheritance, with Old Lord Kenyang's battle strength, there was a possibility that he could snatch it. But the problem was his central continent identity. He was a central continent Gu immortal. Coming to northern plains was risky in itself. The 5 regions in this world, no matter which one, were hostile to foreigners. Especially in northern plains, now that 88 Truyang building had collapsed, there was a huge wave of commotion. If his central continent Gu immortal identity was exposed, there would be huge trouble. Thus, Old Lord Kenyan would rather move secretly, trying to save time and keep himself concealed. He would want to avoid any battle. Old Lord Kenyan took a look at Dong Fang Changfan's star will, his gaze flickering with uncertainty. He felt an urge to attack Dong Fang Liang secretly. But he was afraid that he would lose the opportunity because of this. If he lost this chance, in the end he would only obtain an incomplete inheritance. It had little value. But he was afraid of the star will lying. With Old Lord Kenyang's experience, he knew the difference between wills and land spirits. Dong Fang Changfan was a wisdom path Gu immortal after all. Even the star will that he left behind after dying could influence a strong foe like Old Lord Kenyan and make him uncertain with just a few words. Outside in the sky, Gu immortals and phantom beasts were fighting chaotically. Unfettered Scholar saw Fang Yuan's 3 hands, his wariness increased. He only froze momentarily. Soon, he raised his speed and charged towards Fang Yuan. Even though he was facing 2 strength path hands, he did not have any intention of retreating. He wanted to force Fang Yuan and the others into trouble, to probe their true abilities. Fang Yuan saw that he did not manage to deter Unfettered Scholar. He was not upset. He manipulated the 2 hands and without any scruples, attacked Unfettered Scholar. He dared to attack. He really attacked. Between 2 rank 7 battle strengths, this will be a good show. I have to hide far away, to not get dragged in. The surrounding Gu immortals retreated, leaving a huge space for Fang Yuan and Unfettered Scholar to fight. Unfettered Scholar was agile. Even though Fang Yuan's 2 hands grabbed, they could not touch even his clothes. Unfettered Scholar was dressed in a white robe. He wore a tall hat and had black hair. He flew like an agile crane, free and unrestricted. Seeing the 2 hands fail in getting him, Fang Yuan's body shook as two more hands showed up. Along with the Strength Path giant hand protecting his body, he summoned a total of 5 giant hands. Each of his Strength Path giant hands took the strength of 20,000 Strength Path phantoms in Fang Yuan's aperture, gathering and focusing on one of Fang Yuan's arms. This was his current limit. In accordance with Fang Yuan's current body toughness, he could only take the strength of 20,000 phantoms each. Any more and his arms would break apart even before attacking. But do not forget, Fang Yuan's immortal zombie body was an 8-armed zombie. He had 8 arms. If he used all of them, he would be able to summon 8 Strength Path giant hands. 5 was not his limit yet. 4 of the Strength Path giant hands flew in the air, attacking Unfettered Scholar. The latter was still safe and sound even though it was harder now. He laughed loudly, shouting at Fang Yuan, "Sir, is that all you can do?" He called himself unfettered, he was naturally skilled at movement. Fang Yuan's Strength Path giant hands were powerful, but they were not fast, they could do nothing to Unfettered Scholar. Unless Unfettered Scholar made a mistake, there was no chance of Fang Yuan capturing him. This was the limitation of Giant Hand. Giant Hand was powerful, but it had weaknesses. Every immortal killer move had their own strengths and weaknesses. Although Unfettered Scholar was leading in the battle, he was shocked inside. The battle strength that Fang Yuan displayed made him feel heavy. Especially with Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan standing behind Fang Yuan, fighting with minimal force, could those two be even more powerful? Even if Unfettered Scholar himself fought, he could not force out the true strength of these 3 people. At another side, Shui Han was also suspicious. This can't continue. His gaze was determined. The waves below his feet split. A wave that was more than 100 feet tall crashed at Fang Yuan and the others. Actually, Shui Han and Unfettered Scholar were not on good terms, they even had fought with each other previously, they had old grudges. But right now, after seeing Fang Yuan's strength, Shui Han was not an ordinary character either. He put down his grudge and turned his firepower towards Fang Yuan, assisting Unfettered Scholar. The 2 rank 7 Gu Immortals attacked Fang Yuan, the other Gu Immortals quickly retreated. Come then. Fang Yuan laughed loudly, he had no fear. 3 more hands flew out. A total of 8 Strength Path giant hands, 3 were blocking Unfettered Scholar, 3 were flying at Shui Han, the last 2 were floating around him, prepared and ready to strike. It gave others a huge sense of threat. He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan's bodies also gave off immortal Gu auras. Vischten. Velbin. C. M for new updates. These immortal Gu auras were not just 1 each. They each had at least 2 auras, they oozed out, unconcealed. But just this could not scare off Unfettered Scholar and Shui Han. The 2 looked at each other before one of them shouted, "Having so many immortal Gu, you 3 must be famous experts, you are hiding your identities so deeply, don't tell me you are righteous path Gu Immortals." The other person, Unfettered Scholar, shouted, "I am familiar with many Northern Plains Gu Immortals. I wonder which old friend could be playing a joke on me. Or perhaps none of you are Northern Plains Gu Immortals." Both of their words were deadly. One was slandering them to be righteous path Gu Immortals, they were trying to set them apart from the demonic path cultivators. The other was more ruthless, he said that Fang Yuan and the others were not people from Northern Plains, he was trying to stir up the feeling of a common enemy in these demonic path Gu Immortals. Gu Immortals were all calculating and scheming people. When they fought, it was not just using swords and blades, they fought using words, they competed in terms of wisdom and strategy. Chapter 787, Plotting for the Tribe Even After Death. Ever since 88 Truyang building collapsed, and Imperial Court Blessed Land was destroyed, the entirety of Northern Plains Gu Immortal world had stirred up in shock, they were trying to find the culprit behind this. Unfettered Scholar and Shui Han had malicious intentions. Not only did they join up and attack Fang Yuan together, they even slandered and tried to isolate him. Daoist Gu. Dated novels on NOV/E/Lbin.co. By now, Fang Yuan had to speak. Are you two trying to slander me into doing something foolish? Hehe, you are looking down on me, you are looking down on all our fellow immortals here. I am a true Northern Plains Gu immortal, my Northern Plains aura is clear for everyone to see. If you want to defame me, you should at least make a credible lie. The other demonic path Gu immortals retreated even further now. Hey, Lu Lan's mouth twitched. Fang Yuan obviously was the culprit behind it all, but he was speaking now like he was innocent, with such confidence. Unfettered Scholar and Shui Han did not know that although they were deliberately making slander, they actually hit the truth. The one who caused Imperial Court blessed Land's destruction, who else could it be but Fang Yuan? The contest of words was countered by Fang Yuan. Unfettered Scholar and Shui Han did not speak, they attacked even more fiercely. Being attacked at once by two rank 7s, Fang Yuan's forehead became covered in sweat quickly. He defended himself from all directions, he was barely holding on. After all, he was only a rank 6 immortal zombie, while his opponents were true rank 7 Gu immortals. In terms of cultivation level, there was a huge difference. Fang Yuan relied on the immortal killer move Myriad Self to display rank 7 battle strength, but the longer the strength path giant hands were used, the more Fang Yuan's arms would be unable to sustain the burden, they would gradually reach the point of exploding into meat paste. I have a wood path killer move, but it is a trump card of mine, I barely use it normally. It can be used on one of the enemies, and possibly gravely injure them. But I will need you to restrict them and move the location elsewhere. Fairy Liang saw that Fang Yuan was at a disadvantage, she was anxious and transmitted this to him. Fang Yuan shook his head as he smiled bitterly, replying, the strength path giant hands have incredible power, but they are slow, it is extremely difficult to trap any one of them, there is little hope. Fairy, you can wait for a moment, I still have a plan. If this fails, it will not be too late for you to strike. Oh. Fairy Liang heard this and held in her anxiety. After several rounds, Shui Han and Unfettered Scholar were closing in, Fang Yuan's disadvantage was getting higher. Now is the time. A bright flash shined across Fang Yuan's eyes, he manipulated 6 strength path giant hands as he slammed down. Shui Han and Unfettered Scholar were both below the giant hands, they felt a strong pressure coming down from above, slamming towards them. At once, the air seemed to have frozen. The giant hands whipped up strong winds, causing Unfettered Scholar's clothes to flutter, as Shui Han's expression tensed. The strength path giant hands slammed down together, they were so fierce that the onlookers' hearts jumped. But Shui Han and Unfettered Scholar were already familiar with the strength path giant hands, the former scoffed while the latter smiled lightly, they used their movement killer moves and avoided the hands. But Fang Yuan acted differently from before, he did not stop his attack, he continued exerting force, slamming the 6 giant hands down on the ground. This change caught everyone off guard, even Dong Fang Changfan's star will below became stunned. Oh no! The star will's expression changed, he wanted to stop it but it was too late. Boom! 6 strength path giant hands slammed down in the air, causing ripples to appear in the space, the loud sound was like the boom of thunder. Countless space path Dao marks embedded in the air were smashed by the strength path giant hands. Dong Fang Changfan's arrangements were destroyed, the concealment illusion was gone, the immemorial desolate beast level ruin bat corpse's true appearance was exposed. What a huge ruin bat! Its body was sprawled flat on the ground, but it was still hundreds of meters in size. Its wings were thick and huge, covering a few li of sand. The bat wings were slightly lower, while the head was the highest. Looking upon it from a high altitude, it resembled a small mountain. On the ruined bat's back, there was a huge wound. The wound was extremely deep. Fang Yuan looked at it and knew that it was the ruined bat's fatal injury, but he did not know which existence caused it. At the periphery of the injury, the flesh and fur of the ruined bat was corroded, showing its white bones. On the skeleton, there were extremely thick space path Dao marks, interweaved together to conjure a small space. Inside this space, there was a hall that was so run down it looked like ruins. Fang Yuan's 6-strength path giant hands had already broken into this small space. It was connected to the outside world now. Dong Fang Chang Fan's arrangements were broken. His inheritance is inside, whoever snatches it first gets it. Fight our way in. Wealth moved people's hearts. The inheritance of Northern Plains #1 Wisdom Path Gu Immortal in this generation, to the demonic Path Gu Immortals, it was extremely attractive. Fang Yuan opened a pathway directly. It triggered the greed in all of the demonic Path Gu Immortals. The first demonic Path Gu Immortal flew down, causing the other demonic Path Gu Immortals to feel an intense sense of urgency. They rushed down one after another. Unfettered Scholar was hesitant. While Shui Han had already given up on Fang Yuan, he flew into the tunnel below. Unfettered Scholar sighed lightly, looking at Fang Yuan deeply. He turned into a white light and fought his way into the tunnel. But at the next moment, 6 brand new desolate level phantom beasts, as well as an ancient desolate level phantom beast, flew out of the small space, colliding with all of the demonic Path Gu Immortals. The two sides fought in a chaotic mess again. There is definitely someone manipulating this. Fang Yuan saw this and squinted, slightly shocked inside. Old Lord Kenyan was also shocked. The situation was getting more urgent, seemingly thoroughly sobering him. Snorting coldly, a cruel smile appeared on his face, as a huge flame turned Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong into charcoal. These two poor rank 5s, at the peak of the mortal world, they had a tough journey in following Dong Fang Yu Liang, reaching this stage. In the end, they were killed by Old Lord Kenyan in an instant, burnt to death. At the same time, as Old Lord Kenyan snorted coldly, Dong Fang Yu Liang, who was working hard, spat out blood like he was struck by lightning. He knelt on the ground. Old scoundrel, you killed my subordinates and still dare to attack me. Dong Fang Yu Liang struggled to get up. He was shouting in anger and hatred. Old Lord Kenyang's eyes darted around. He sneered, "Don't frame me, I did nothing." In saying this, the corners of his eyes were locked on Dong Fang Chang Fan's star will. This was Old Lord Kenyang's probe, to see if this star will's methods were real or not. Dong Fang Chang Fan's star will saw this and heaved a long sigh, saying, "It has gotten to this point, so be it, everyone come out." Once he said that, a change occurred. In the hall, a mysterious light burst out. When the light faded, 8 Dong Fang tribe Gu Immortals appeared together. They were surrounding Old Lord Kenyan in the middle as they shouted. "Old scoundrel, you dare to target our tribe's inheritance, your death date will be today." Although this old scoundrel is despicable, the traitor in our tribe is even more deplorable. Quickly tell us, who was the one who informed you in secret? Old Lord Kenyan was no longer calm. Panic flashed across his eyes as he looked at the star will with much rage and shock. So this was a plot against me. Dong Fang Chang Fan's star will nodded, indeed. Before my main body died, I had instructed Dong Fang Wan Xiu and taught him the correct method. Using this, he obtained the secret passageway from the teleportation Gu formation. He told the 7 Gu Immortals around him this secret passageway. After that, on the way here, they met with my arrangements and were attacked by the desolate beasts, keeping them busy. Meanwhile, the traitor in my tribe is evidently among these 8. The traitor was stalled by the desolate beasts and could not come here. Afraid that the wisdom path inheritance would end up in the hands of others, he sent this secret information using a certain method to you. After receiving the information, you surpassed the other demonic path Gu immortals and arrived here first. Old Lord Kenyang's expression was grim. He stared at the star wheel as he said eerily, "So that is it. Even though you knew that Dongfang tribe had a traitor, you did not know who it was." "That is correct." Star Will nodded, "But now it seems the traitor is among these 8. Who was it, who betrayed our bloodline, who betrayed our tribe?" Dongfang Wanxiu screamed. "At this point, you have already exposed some clues. It will only take some effort to find you. Why are you not owning up?" Dongfang Yikong clenched his fists in anger. The other Gu immortals looked at each other. Some had solemn expressions while the others had a furious look. The situation was in a deadlock. Dongfang tribe had 8 Gu immortals, but they were all rank 6. Old Lord Kenyan was a true rank 7, and an expert even among rank 7s. Even though Dongfang tribe's Gu immortals were greater in numbers, they knew that one of them was a traitor. That caused them to be wary of each other. They did not attack directly. Old Lord Kenyan frowned slowly, looking at the star wheel. "Wait, since you saw through the plot and were targeting me from the start, you could have triggered the arrangements before I entered. Why did you wait until now?" The star wheel stood on the spot, refusing to answer him. Dongfang tribe's Gu immortals also did not speak. The hall fell into silence. Noises of the intense battles from above could be heard. Old Lord Kenyan twitched in sudden understanding. "I get it, you want to borrow my strength to deal with these demonic path Gu immortals. All you need to do is to intentionally make Dongfang Liang fail, and I would think that I could compete for this inheritance. By then, all of the demonic path Gu immortals outside would be my enemies. Of course, with your wisdom, you can certainly think of another, better method to make me your pawn. When these demonic path Gu immortals and I fight it out and become weakened, your Gu immortals would be able to reap more profits. It is a good plan. What a great scheme. Unfortunately, any sort of arrangement is not safe from accidents." The star will said, acknowledging Old Lord Kenyang's guess. This accident was Fang Yuan's 6-strength path giant hands. "Teacher." Dongfang Liang was standing stunned on the spot. The scene in front of him made him feel helpless. He was both joyful and sorrowful. He was joyful because the enemy was restricted, the tribe was prepared for it. He was sorrowful because he was just bait, he was a pawn meant to attract the enemy. His hard work, Tan Wu Feng and Dong Pekong's sacrifice, they seemed like foolish, laughable jokes. As if he sensed Dongfang Liang's thoughts, the star will turned around and looked at the inheritor that he chose. "Liang, you do not need to think too deeply about it. I was using the wisdom path inheritance to trap our strong foes and exterminate the traitor in our tribe. But the arrangement here is real, the wisdom path inheritance is also real. This enemy has a huge background. He is from Immortal Crane sect, one of the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent. They also have their wisdom path Gu immortals. It is only when I place the true wisdom path inheritance here, that I would not leave behind any flaws that would allow the enemy's wisdom path Gu immortals to find out." So that's it. Dongfang Liang's heart shook. He felt ashamed but also deep admiration. He was ashamed about his own foolish thoughts. He was also admiring his teacher Dongfang Changfan. The latter taught him painstakingly. Even after death, he plotted and attempted to protect Dongfang tribe, eliminating their traitor. The enemy was so strong, Dongfang Changfan made such an arrangement due to his wisdom, but also because he was helpless against such a strong foe. After experiencing the difficulty that his teacher was feeling, Dongfang Liang felt even more deeply ashamed of himself. Chapter 788, Cards Revealed, The True Traitor's Identity. "Alright, Liang, go and complete the Gu formation. As long as you go through this last round, you will be able to obtain my main body's true inheritance. As for you, old Lord Kenyan, you will die here today. Dongfang Changfan Star will said slowly. Old Lord Kenyan took a step back. He spoke arrogantly, although I am alone, you are only a group of rank 6 along with a mere will, you want to take my life? Don't forget that my ally is among you. There are also demonic path Gu immortals outside, they are like hungry wolves, your phantom beasts can't hold them off for long. Although he said that, his face showed a vigilant and alert expression. To live to his age, and obtain such accomplishments, a vigilant nature was a necessary trait. Old Lord Kenyang's words were true, he attacked Dongfang tribe's weakness. That was also why Dongfang tribe's Gu immortals did not attack rashly despite having an advantage in numbers. Dongfang Changfan Star will laughed. During the remote antiquity era, star constellation Immortal Venerable, the creator of Wisdom Path, died, but she deduced matters over 1,000,000 years after her death. It caused 3 future demon venerables to return empty-handed, protecting heavenly court. Although I, Dongfang Changfan, am far inferior to star constellation Immortal Venerable, I can still somewhat deduce matters within 100 years after my demise. Since I made such an arrangement, I have my trump cards. Saying so, an illusory Gu formation appeared in the hall. Countless Gu worms flew around, they were like the threads of countless spiders, weaved in the large hall. Compared to this new formation, the Gu formation that Dongfang Liang was completing resembled a baby in front of an adult. Old Lord Kenyan saw this and his expression turned ugly. This is a phantom formation. To think that you, Dongfang Changfan, had such deep attainment in phantom path, you can actually set up a phantom formation. Ordinary Gu formations, once exposed, were easy to target and destroy. That was because the Gu worms that made up the Gu formation were of solid form. The Gu worms themselves were very fragile, even the immortal level spring autumn cicada could be destroyed by Fang Yuan if he squeezed it between his fingers lightly. But this phantom formation was a high-level method involving phantom path, it made all of the Gu worms in the Gu formation turn phantom, while not obstructing the effect of the Gu formation itself. The phantom beasts could hold off Fang Yuan and the other demonic path Gu immortals for so long because of their ability to turn phantom. Once they turned phantom, no moves would have any effect on them. The star will display the Gu formation outright, not afraid of Old Lord Kenyan destroying it, that was because the Gu formation had turned phantom, Old Lord Kenyan could only watch it activate, there was nothing he could do. As the Gu formation started to activate, a blinding light filled the hall. Ha ha ha. Old Lord Kenyan laughed loudly, since I cannot do anything to the phantom formation, I will kill all of you instead. Everyone, be careful. He is attacking. Beware of the traitor, do not be too careless. This is a life and death moment for our tribe. That's right, as long as we survive this, all will be smooth sailing. The Dongfang tribe Gu immortals were all waiting in seriousness, they were deeply focused. Everyone, don't be anxious, for the time being, he can't get here. Dongfang Changfan Star Will was very calm. At the next moment, Old Lord Kenyan charged over, but his movements were very slow. The fire that he shot out was originally very fast, but now it was slow like a snail. This is. Old Lord Kenyan quickly realized that he did not become slower, instead, a mystical change had occurred to the space in front of him that could not be observed with the naked eye. The distance seemed short, but the space was condensed. I spent decades and immense effort to design this. Although this hall looks ordinary and is no different from the other halls, I had shifted most of the space path Dao marks on the corpse here. Although we and Old Lord Kenyan are only tens of steps apart, our true distance is gigantic. The star will said slowly. As expected of Lord Dong Fong Chung Fan. Dong Fong tribe Gu Immortals were relieved, their eyes were shining as they looked at the Star Will with much admiration. The Star Will nodded, now is the crucial moment, I will tell you the truth. This formation is a large formation. With my Wisdom Path Immortal Gu as the core, and Blood Path Immortal Gu as support, once activated, the power will be overwhelming, it can shake heaven and earth. Furthermore, because of the Blood Path Immortal Gu, it has an amazing effect against Gu Immortals. As long as the Gu formation is activated, not only can it kill old Lord Kenyan, it can even slaughter all of the demonic path Gu Immortals in the sky. After this battle, my Dong Fong tribe will be renowned in Northern Plains, both the righteous and demonic paths, and the other major forces would be greatly wary of us. After this battle ends, you can move this formation back to our blessed land. If Liang can obtain my inheritance, he will be the person in charge of controlling this formation. Dong Fong tribe's Gu Immortals heard this and became excited. In contrast, old Lord Kenyang's expression was unable to conceal his suspicion and wariness. The Star Will continued, my main body had formed an agreement with the righteous path super forces before dying, creating an alliance, but in this world, only power that one has in their own hands can best ensure safety. You must remember, do not unnecessarily place hope in others' hands. Dong Fong tribe's Gu Immortals nodded, they expressed that they had learned a lesson. Dong Fong Yikong shouted, Lord Chung Fan, our tribe still has that traitor. No matter how vigilant we are, we can't defend against an internal threat. Don't be anxious. The Star Will laughed, I'm not finished yet. Everything has its advantages and disadvantages, gains and losses. This Gu formation is very powerful, but it has a severe drawback. To activate this Gu formation, it will need to use the Immortal Aperture Origin Core of Gu Immortals. What? Many of Dong Fong tribe's Gu Immortals shouted in shock. The Immortal Aperture Origin Core was the foundation of the Immortal Aperture, the base of it all. Once it was drawn out, the painstakingly developed Immortal Aperture would reverse its progression, the space would shrink and the primeval energy would dwindle, lifeforms within would die en masse. The Gu Immortal themselves would weaken instead of progressing, once the time comes, heavenly tribulations or earthly calamities in the Immortal Aperture would be devastating. The shrinking of the Immortal Aperture would mean the weakening of the Gu Immortal, they would die from disasters if they were not vigilant. Since their lives were at stake, Dong Fong tribe's Gu Immortals lost their bearings. But soon, one Gu Immortal stood up. It was Dong Fong Wan Xiu. The people in the hall heard him speak, there cannot be benefits without losses, Lord Chung Fan had planned this with much difficulty, creating this situation now. For Dong Fong tribe, what reasons do I have not to make such a sacrifice? That's right. Truly worthy of Lord Wan Xiu. I, Dong Fong Yikong, will accompany you. Soon after, Dong Fong Yikong also stood up. The Star Will smiled, he was silent as he looked at the others. Explore new. Ovals on N. Velby. .com. The other Gu Immortals looked at each other, nodding quickly, they decided to eliminate the tribe's strong foes by sacrificing themselves. No need to rush. The Star Will waved his hand, he said slowly, I have something else to tell all of you. Once you enter the Gu formation, the Immortal Aperture Origin Core would start being extracted, by then, none of you would not be able to move or leave forcefully. Your lives and deaths will be in my control. Are you still willing? If you are not, you can step out now. The Gu Immortals' expressions changed again. Dong Fong Wan Xiu's eyes were shining with a lively light, he looked around and smiled coldly, Traitor, you should reveal yourself now, if not, it will be too late. Star Will's words were naturally for the traitor. As long as one thought about it, they would realize, if there was really a traitor, after hearing this, they would feel great mental pressure. Once they entered the formation, their life would not be in their own hands. If they were exposed when attacking old Lord Kenyan later due to panic, then they would not be able to fight back at all. If there really was a traitor, they would have other goals and would not want to attack old Lord Kenyan. They would not want their lives to be in the Star Will's hands. After that, a few breaths later, none of Dongfang tribe's Gu immortals in the hall stood out. Alright, at this point, I, Wan Xiu, have to admire you. No wonder you could conceal yourself in the tribe for so long, and so deeply. Dongfang Wan Xiu said with much hatred. The Star Will laughed lightly. In that case, enter the formation. The Phantom Gu formation had 8 core points, the Dongfang tribe Gu immortals entered and occupied 1 each. The Gu formation activated slowly, the Gu immortals' expressions changed as they felt their immortal apertures tremble, a strong suction force was emitting from the formation. Relax your mind, cooperate with the formation, let it run fully. The Star Will was solemn. The Gu immortals were hesitant, but they eventually opened their immortal apertures and allowed traces of their immortal aperture origin cores to be drawn out, flowing out from the 8 core points of the formation. In the Phantom formation, a faint blood-colored light quickly surfaced. Under the effect of the blood-colored light, these 8 different immortal aperture origin cores converged in the Gu formation, they were actually fusing into one. This formation is really mystical. A Gu immortal saw this and could not help but praise. This is because all of you have Dongfang tribe's bloodline in you. Your bloodlines are close, your origins are the same. Therefore, your bloodlines can mix, and your immortal aperture origin could fuse. Only by fusing could they accumulate in quantity, and summon a huge force. Dongfang Changfan Star Will slowly explained. The 8 Gu immortals in the formation nodded. Dongfang Wan Xiu's eyes were shining with brilliance, he looked around but could not find out any flaws that could expose the traitor. No matter. The Star Will laughed lightly. In this situation, regardless of who the traitor is, they are already under my control, they are putting in strength for our tribe. Everyone, relax, I am going to extract more of your immortal aperture origin cores. Go ahead. Right, we will kill all of these accursed demonic path Gu immortals. They dare to target our Dongfang tribe. The Phantom formation burst out in a bright light, the Gu immortals snorted as their expressions turned dark, some of them were frowning while others were feeling discomfort and pain. The immortal aperture origin cores were like lumps of water as they fused in the Phantom formation, converging into a huge force, they resembled a slumbering fierce beast. No matter who it was, anyone could feel that this force was huge, even the surrounding air had ripples it in, as if it could not hold such power. The Gu immortals in Dongfang tribe had red faces, some of their bodies were trembling, some of them had ruthless expressions, they were all looking forward to this rampaging power. But this power was not unleashed yet under the control of the Star Will, it was prepared for release but remained in place. No need to rush. The Star Will looked into the sky, at the chaotic battle. The phantom beasts that obstructed the demonic path Gu immortals were all slaughtered, almost none were left. The Star Will was like a flood dragon, hiding in the river, waiting for the best time to strike. Once the time was right, the flood dragon would soar into the sky, overturning rivers and seas. By then, the unfortunate people would be the one charging at its front. Right at this time, Dongfang Liang stood up, shouting loudly, "Master, I did it, I succeeded in completing this Gu formation, I completed your request." The Star Will's gaze swept towards him, he showed a pleased smile, "Very good. Liang, you did not disappoint me. Enter the formation too, stand at the center. Although you are immortal, you will need to ascend to immortal eventually. When the battle begins, you will experience the power of a Gu immortal, it will be of great help for your future." "Yes, Master. I will listen to you." Dongfang Yu Liang's eyes were red, he was so moved he was choking back tears. He leaped, jumping into the air, with the power of the phantom formation, he stood in the formation's central core as he floated in the air. In the sky, despite Unfettered Scholar and Shui Han's heavy disturbances, Fang Yuan finally found a chance. The sky in front of him was clear, there was nothing stopping him, the chance was only momentary, he latched onto it and flew down with minimal attention to his safety. 7 strength path giant hands slammed down, only one was left protecting his body. It is time. The star will saw this and sighed lightly. Dongfang tribe Gu Immortals were all looking into the sky with much bloodlust. At the next moment, they saw old Lord Kenyan flying up, blocking Fang Yuan's attack as he forced the latter back into the sky. This turn of events made all of the Dongfang tribe Gu Immortals look on with stunned expressions. All of my efforts were not in vain, in forming this plot to regain my life through possession, now is the moment. The star will laughed loudly, he was extremely excited. Dongfang Changfan's soul suddenly appeared, charging into the phantom formation center as he entered Dongfang Yu Liang's body. Ha ha ha, you bunch of fools. I will tell you the truth, the true traitor in Dongfang tribe is that beloved Lord Changfan of yours, ha 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 ha. Old Lord Kenyan was laughing maniacally. Chapter 789, Blood Veil Obstruct Immortals. What? Dongfang Wanxiu stared with wide-open eyes. This is not possible. Dongfang Yikong firmly denied. How could it be Lord Dongfang Changfan? Everyone, be careful, this is likely to be an illusion. The enemy cannot break the formation, so he is trying to confuse us. All the Gu Immortals of Dongfang tribe had incredulous expressions, unable to accept this shocking fact. Old Lord Kenyan scoffed, confuse you guys? Laughable, all of you are incapable of moving, you aren't even worth confusing. You have already become meat on the chopping board, unable to free yourselves, it is funny how you still cannot see the truth. He he he. These words were like shocking strikes of lightning that ruthlessly assaulted the Dongfang tribe's Gu Immortals. Everyone looked at Dongfang Changfan's star will. Dongfang Wanxiu shouted, Lord Changfan, this is not real. Dongfang Yikong asked, Lord Changfan, please speak up. Lord Changfan, Dongfang Changfan. What are your intentions? Countless questions and shouts echoed in this hall. The star will chuckled, seemingly at leisure. He was only a will, but had condensed into the image of his body back when he was alive, his frame was upright, his face like that of jade, his eyes full of splendor and the graceful aura of a great commander was revealed. However, right now, this sight, this attitude and demeanor, caused a chill to emerge in the hearts of Dongfang tribe's Gu Immortals. The phantom formation transformed again, the enormous power which it had condensed was finally being released at this moment. It was like a surge of waves, blood-colored light shot out everywhere, forming a thick bloody veil that covered the main location in the ruined bat's corpse. At this sight, Dongfang Wanxiu and the rest finally had a huge change in their expressions. They had thought this formation was used for attacking the enemies, but its true use was to defend. This chilling fact was displayed in front of everyone's eyes, tearing apart the lies told by the star will. Dongfang Changfan, why are you doing this? Why are you harming us? Dongfang Wanxiu looked malevolent, his expression filled with pain and grief. What could it be for? Being alive is the foundation for everything, who would want to die? Who doesn't want to live? As long as there is a sliver of a hope to survive, who can resist the temptation? Old Lord Kenyan sneered, staring at the phantom formation intently without blinking. Looking at the phantom formation operating normally, Old Lord Kenyan could not help but take a deep breath. This possession technique really has an extremely high price. It needs the sacrifice of Gu Immortals every time it is activated. If it was true, this possession technique could not be used widely as the activation conditions were too costly. Dong Fang Chung Fan's star will slowly shook its head. Old Lord, you don't need to worry. I previously obtained this possession technique in 88 True Yang building. The contents inside allow one to possess mortals and even Gu Immortals. But to possess Gu Immortals, one's cultivation must be higher than the target. Moreover, after possession, the immortal aperture would be the target's immortal aperture. This is akin to a raven taking over a seagull's nest. It is unfitting and has great disadvantages. While alive, I was a wisdom path Gu Immortal, but I did not have a suitable wisdom path Gu Immortal as the possession target. Thus, I exerted effort to think and plan for so many years before I finally obtained this formation. This formation was created with the possession technique as the foundation. It can let me possess a mortal, and at the same time, it can mobilize the origin cores of Gu Immortals of the same bloodline and create a completely new wisdom path immortal aperture, allowing me to immediately become an immortal after possession and avoid the dangerous stage of having weaker cultivation initially. Hearing the Star Will's explanation, old Lord Kenyan sized up the Star Will while also being inwardly shocked. This Dong Fang Chung Fan concealed his abilities really well. Not only is his wisdom path attainment enough to be known as the best in Northern Plains, he also can use space path Dao marks and manipulate the Phantom Beast army. Now, it seems his blood path attainment is also not low. The Star Will did not know of the churning of old Lord Kenyang's inner thoughts. Still continuing its explanation, don't underestimate this formation. With these 8 Gu Immortals sacrificing themselves, they will be supplying me with abundant resources. My newly formed immortal aperture will absolutely be the best within high grade. There is also another key point: the immortal aperture will automatically produce resources like flowers, birds, fish, insects, and so on. It would be as if I had managed the blessed land for many years. This would save hundreds of years of hard work. Thus, after I complete possession, not only would my cultivation be restored, I will also have enough resources, much more than when I was alive. Old Lord Kenyan, feel free to observe and ask questions as you desire. I will explain the key content of every step. A heated expression flashed across old Lord Kenyang's face. He laughed heartily, looking deeply at Dong Fang Chung Fan's Star Will. You truly made a good plan, wanting me to keep you safe from danger. My presence here was to help you resist these demonic path Gu Immortals. And when you succeed in advancing to Gu Immortal, there will definitely be a heavenly tribulation and earthly calamity. At that time, I will be by your side, forced to take action even if I don't want to. Dong Fang Chung Fan's Star Will smiled without any shame from having his scheme exposed. He looked at old Lord Kenyan and said with a quiet and deep voice, if you want to gain something in this world, you need to be prepared to pay the price. How can there be free things? In particular, the more you want to obtain, the higher the risk will be. What is old Lord's decision? Please confirm it quickly. Old Lord Kenyan snickered, but inwardly, he deeply admired Dong Fang Chung Fan for being decisive in what to give up. Back then, when Dong Fang Chung Fan obtained the possession technique from 88 True Yang Building's True Inheritance secluded domain, he had also discovered the arrangements of Central Continent's 10 great sects. Meanwhile, Immortal Crane's sect had been infiltrating Dong Fang tribe. After Dong Fang Chung Fan became a Gu Immortal and joined the higher-ups of the tribe, he secretly discovered this fact. But he did not expose this, instead following this clue to covertly engage in cooperation with Immortal Crane's sect. He used the possession technique to make a transaction with Immortal Crane's sect. Lifespan Gu were hard to find, any Gu Immortal would scramble for any methods for life extension. Let alone when this possession technique came from Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Immortal Crane's sect was one of the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent and had long history with deep foundations, but even it could not resist the temptation of the possession technique. The two sides had their own needs, Dong Fang Chang Fan slowly released the contents of the possession technique while obtaining resources from Immortal Crane sect. He used these resources to quickly advance and successfully passed many tribulations. He also supported the next generations of the tribe and formed schemes directed everywhere, bringing the declining Dong Fang tribe to glory. In cooperating with a person like Dong Fang Chang Fan, old Lord Kenyan was very cautious, not relaxing his guard, even though he was stronger. He did not think for long, nodding and accepting. Dong Fang Chang Fan Star will gave a laugh. Good, I will explain the first step. Old Lord Kenyan listened, paying full attention. It was clear to him that Dong Fang Chang Fan was using him, but old Lord Kenyan had come as a representative of Immortal Crane sect's will, thus he also had no other choice. Old Lord Kenyan thought of the heavy reward from the sect for completing this mission, and that was his motivation to continue. Dong Fang tribe's 8 Gu immortals were already cursing loudly. Dong Fang Yu Liang was unconscious and motionless, his eyes closed. Meanwhile, in the outside world, Fang Yuan looked down at another sight. He saw an incomparably large blood veil which covered the ruined bat's corpse like a mountain. The blood veil was extremely thick, with greatly plentiful quantities of blood-colored light, and the terrifying might it showcased could make one's heart palpitate. The demonic Path Gu immortals turned their attentions to the blood veil, and stopped their internal conflicts. Some among them tried using their methods in attacking the blood veil, but it was like pebbles being thrown into a large lake. There were only slight ripples on the blood veil, and it stood unmoved, stable like a mountain. Such a strong defense. What Gu formation is this? I have neither seen it nor even heard of it before. Dong Fang Chang Fan truly left behind an endless number of arrangements. The demonic Path Gu immortals were making guesses. Fang Yuan also frowned. Even though he was an expert in blood path and had his previous life's memories, he had never seen nor heard of this Gu formation. Who cares what Gu formation this is, it will break with one smash from my hammer. Gu immortal Zhuozhan shouted and charged forward. He was riding a flying boar desolate beast, his body was covered in armor and he was holding a giant hammer. He had a burly build and was easily irritable, but he bullied the weak while fearing the strong. Everyone's gazes gathered on him. Zhuozhan felt very proud for being in the limelight, his expression turning even more fierce. But several breaths later, his fierce expression was gone completely, replaced by shock and fear. As he approached the blood veil, the blood in his body went out of his control, and started flowing out of his body. Gu immortals were called immortals, but their bodies, for the most part, still retained the normal workings and functions of the human body. Blood supported the movement of the body and was a crucial part. Zhuozhan was still a far distance from the blood veil, but half the blood in his body had sprayed out. If he continued, before he even reached the blood veil, his blood would completely seep out and he would turn into a dried-out corpse. Such an odd formation. This is the effect of Menzi's blood Gu, it can draw out blood. Visit no, v, 3lb/n.c. M for new. OV. L. Menzi's blood Gu is one of the blood path inheritances of blood sea ancestor, who could have thought that the rumor of Dong Fang Chang Fan obtaining it was not only true, he also raised this Menzi's blood Gu to immortal Gu level. The demonic Path Gu immortals showed moved expressions. Several Gu immortals tried all kinds of methods, but everyone failed. Everyone was aware that unless they used methods that targeted defensive abilities, they would not be able to break this blood veil. Fang Yuan frowned tensely. He, himself, was an expert in blood path during his previous life, but he currently did not have any blood path immortal Gu and he cultivated strength path. Without the necessary starting components, one couldn't get anywhere, he was unable to do anything to this formation. The situation was troublesome and everyone was feeling anxious. Dongfang Liang had been inside for so long, he might have already completely obtained the inheritance. The current plan should be to use long-range killer moves. Everyone, attack together, let's destroy Dongfang Changfan's arrangements first before we fight for the spoils. Otherwise, under the eyes of numerous immortals, a mortal would seize the inheritance. If that really happens, I, Unfettered Scholar, would have no face left to continue living in Northern Plains. Unfettered Scholar suddenly shouted. He immediately made his move after shouting. The demonic Path Gu Immortals agreed. For a while, water and fire converged, lightning and wind struck, colorful light sparkled, and countless explosions struck the blood veil, reducing its mass. Everyone had joyful expressions before they soon turned grave. The blood veil continuously shrunk but also unceasingly regenerated. Especially for the parts further inside, the demonic Path Gu Immortals' attacks clearly showed insufficient damage. Chapter 790, Contest of Offense and Defense. The blood veil firmly covered the ruined bat's corpse, resisting the wanton attacks of the demonic Path Gu Immortals. Having not expected such resistance from the blood veil and under the urgent situation, Shui Han shouted, "Make way." He was a rank 7 Gu immortal and had already formed a reputation within the demonic path. Everyone parted ways and opened up a space for him. Water Path and Ice Path Killer Move, Flood Glacier. Inside Shui Han's immortal aperture, over 10,000 Gu worms were activated, while his rank 7 red date immortal essence was being consumed bead by bead. Rumble. Endless waves started surging out of thin air from the space within hundreds of steps of Shui Han. Surging waves, like innumerable raging dragons, roared and crashed down with a catastrophic momentum. The giant wave was still crashing down when it underwent another transformation. Crackle. The giant wave started condensing into ice from inside to outside. Within several breaths, the monstrous giant wave turned into an enormous glacier and pressed down like a giant whale, or a pillar falling from the heavens. The ice-cold chilly air could make one tremble. The terrifying attack made people hold their breath subconsciously. In the hall, Dongfang Changfan's star will no longer have the leisurely attitude from before, and all his focus was on raising the defensive power to the maximum. The previous demonic Path Gu Immortals' attacks were fierce, but they lacked coordination, and although they were numerous in quantity, they had limited qualitative increase in power. Now that Shui Han used this trump card, his strength was united as it was his own power, and was stronger than the earlier chaotic attacks by at least 10 times. Rumble. The glacier heavily smashed at the blood veil. The blood veil deformed from the enormous weight, but was still able to rigidly resist the pressure of the glacier and the corrosion of the cold aura. Immortal Killer Move Flood Glacier was powerful, but Dongfang Changfan's blood veil was arranged from the origin cores of 8 Gu Immortals' immortal apertures and also was aided by the arrangements prepared at this location. Shui Han, alone, could not break through the blood veil. But this killer move was still astonishing. The demonic Path Gu Immortals looked down from above, and saw that with the ruined bat at the center, the entire surroundings had turned into a glacier. The dead Immemorial ruined bat was huge, like a mountain, and now that it was covered by the glacier, it was as if it wore a heavy suit of ice armor, looking even more gigantic. Inside the translucent glacier was a giant red blood veil. The bone-chilling cold air was still spreading everywhere, frost had covered the vegetation on the periphery and was expanding. For a while, everyone looked at Shui Han with astonished gazes. Although the killer move had not broken the blood veil, its power still left a deep impression on everyone. Even if I used all 8 strength path giant hands together, I wouldn't be able to resist this killer move head-on. Fang Yuan's gaze flickered. This was the true strength of an veteran rank 7 Gu Immortal. Compared to this, Fang Yuan was still lacking greatly. Previously, Fang Yuan had been able to fight against two, blocking Unfettered Scholar and Shui Han, because the two had not used their trump cards. Gu Immortals were rational, they all came for the wisdom path inheritance, and had no deep hatred against each other. They would have to be mentally handicapped to fight each other to the death. But now, the Gu Immortals realized something was wrong. Only then did Shui Han use a trump card and put out his full strength. Although I have rank 7 battle strength with my immortal killer move Myriad Self, it is only barely at that level. If I had to truly fight an expert like Shui Han to the death, the one who is likely to lose is me. But if I had to confront this move, I would not face it head-on, but attempt to evade and detour around to battle. The power of the immortal killer move, Flood Glacier, made Fang Yuan aware of some of Shui Han's strength and also made him aware of the gap between him and Shui Han. Immediately, Fang Yuan felt a slight sense of urgency. The cultivation of Gu Immortals was a major factor in influencing battle strength. A part of Shui Han's power was because he had used rank 7 Red Date Immortal Essence. Fang Yuan already had made extremely superior progress in this life, but the thing hindering him was his immortal zombie body. His true cultivation was only at the bottom of rank 6 with not even one tribulation passed. Cultivation is the base, the foundation. My immortal zombie body might be strong, but there is no room to greatly improve. I still have to search for the method to regain my living body. Brother Pi really is mighty. Let me also test my hand. At this moment, Unfettered Scholar laughed brightly and flew towards Shui Han. Shui Han coldly snorted, with an ugly expression on his face. He had made such an effort in front of everyone, but had still not been able to break the blood veil. Seeing Unfettered Scholar coming over, he slowly gave way for the central position. Under everyone's gazes, Unfettered Scholar flew right above the ruined bat's corpse. He had already been preparing earlier. He suddenly opened his eyes, his pupils were completely white and shot out two thin rays of faint white light. This move looked very inconspicuous, purely based on how imposing it appeared. It could never be compared to the glacier earlier. The Gu Immortals who were unaware were rather baffled at this. However, Shui Han's complexion changed. The Sawark of this content N/O/V/L/N. When the two faint white light rays shined down, the glacier instantly melted and the blood veil intensely shook, unexpectedly displaying immense power. This is Unfettered Scholar. What an amazing move, 1,000 disintegrations. In the hall, old Lord Kenyan, however, recognized this move. Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects had infiltrated into northern plains for many years over 88 True Yang building. Since old Lord Kenyan took the risk to come, he naturally had a lot of information on northern plains. Unfettered Scholar originated from Central Continent's Qin clan. Central Continent's Qin clan specialized in rule path, but Central Continent was ruled by a sect system and did not leave room for clans to prosper. After being pushed aside, Qin clan moved to northern plains. Unfortunately, northern plains' righteous path was ruled by the Huangjin bloodline. Qin clan might be a super force with Gu immortal level strength, but under secret repulsion from Huangjin bloodline forces, it finally weakened. By Unfettered Scholar's time, he was the only outstanding talent remaining and the clan already did not exist anymore. He was left to fight alone and fend for himself. Qin clan specialized in rule path and among its Gu immortals, rank 6 could use the killer move 100 disintegrations, rank 7 could use 1000 disintegrations, and rank 8 could use myriad disintegrations. This killer move is extremely powerful and can attack as well as defend, disintegrating almost any mysterious elements. In central continents past, many Gu immortals from sects suffered crushing defeats under the might of myriad disintegrations. Old Lord Kenyan sighed as he recalled. You have spoken so much nonsense, are you still not going to strike? The blood veil is being consumed greatly because of Unfettered Scholar, these are all precious immortal aperture origin cores that are being used up. Dong Fang Chang Fan Star will urged. Haha. Old Lord Kenyan stood with his hands clasped behind his back and did not seem like he was going to fight. Unfettered Scholar is only one person while you have the collaboration of 8 people. He also doesn't know the situation here, watch me use my method. He then let out his rank 7 aura. The aura immediately shocked the demonic path Gu immortals in the sky. They actually have a rank 7 Gu immortal. Aren't all the Gu immortals of Dong Fang tribe rank 6? Could it be that someone advanced to rank 7 but kept it a secret all along? Or maybe Dong Fang tribe invited reinforcements. Don't forget they are of Huang Jin bloodline, a superforce of the righteous path. The Gu immortals were startled and puzzled. Unfettered Scholar looked indifferent, but he was inwardly shaken. His killer move was powerful and had a huge origin, but its consumption of red date immortal essence was extremely intense. The other side had a rank 7 Gu immortal, thus they could clearly fight toe-to-toe with him. His side has numerous people, but everyone had their own intentions. Unfettered Scholar could not help but consider, he could not brainlessly charge ahead and waste his immortal essence. Otherwise, during the time when they fought for real, he would lack the necessary immortal essence to continue, and all of his efforts would have gone to waste and to the advantage of others. Unfettered Scholar stopped his killer move when he thought of this. See, didn't it stop? Old Lord Kenyan laughed heartily, a pleased expression on his face. He only leaked his aura, and was able to make Unfettered Scholar stop. Just based on scheming and deceiving, Old Lord Kenyan might not be a match to Dong Fang Chang Fan, but his plentiful life experiences were enough for him to know people's mindsets and use the situation to make schemes. The longer the time prolongs, the more favorable it is to that Dong Fang Yu Liang. This blood veil is extremely thick, we need to use our trump cards to attack it if we want to break it. Unfettered Scholar spoke, his gaze cast towards Fang Yuan. Traveling 3 elites lost Han Dong, Lu Qingming and Su Guang were only at rank 6. Besides Unfettered Scholar and Shui Han, there was only Fang Yuan who had shown rank 7 battle strength. Shui Han also looked at Fang Yuan. These demonic path Gu immortal experts naturally would not let Fang Yuan take easy benefits. Fairies, please guard me while I exert all my strength. Fang Yuan secretly transmitted his voice and after obtaining affirmation, he sat cross-legged in the air. 8 strength path giant hands flew towards the blood veil. The periphery of the blood veil was covered with a layer of glacier, looking like a stuffed large iceberg. Fang Yuan paid no attention to it, moving his 8 strength path giant hands in 8 directions. The giant hands opened up and the palms tightly stuck to the surface of the iceberg. The 5 fingers then started to dig into the iceberg. Rise! Fang Yuan called out, immediately, a rumbling noise resounded in everyone's ears. At first, this noise was only slight. But soon, the sound got louder and louder, until the rumbling resounded like bursts of endless thunder. Earth shook and giant cracks started to appear on the ground surrounding the iceberg. In everyone's astonished gazes, the iceberg that covered the blood veil was actually slowly rising, like it was going to leave the ground. The hull was trembling and swaying. Old Lord Kenyan blurted out, "This is..." The star will also changed expression, not good. I have already remodeled this immemorial ruined bat's corpse, and to make it stable, I connected it to the ground to form a mountain based on the corpse. The other party seems to have the ability to pull mountain roots, which happens to counter my arrangements. Kenyan, you need to make a move. Dong Fang Chang Fan's star will was so anxious that his figure almost collapsed. His main body could indeed make great calculations, but human minds had their limits. The arrangements were set long ago, and even the most extensive calculations could have mishaps. Fang Yuan's Pulling Mountain Immortal Gu was one such mishap. Pulling Mountain Immortal Gu could target any mountainous body. When Dong Fang Chang Fan was alive, he had linked the immemorial ruined bat's corpse to the surrounding landscape, forming what could truly be called a corpse mountain. This arrangement instead became a flaw which happened to be used by Pulling Mountain Immortal Gu. This mountain with roots connected to the ground can be pulled up. Shui Han stared with wide open eyes, his gaze constantly flickering. Who could this person be? Unfettered Scholar was startled and puzzled, while he used his killer move, 1000 Disintegrations, at the blood veil again. Being attacked from two ends, the situation did not seem to bode well for Dong Fang Chang Fan's side. Old Lord Kenyan laughed before finally making his move. Look at my life chasing fire.